And I'm a Gigachad. And you're all a soy, little limp dicks, little soy, little cuckolds. Let's get to this content. Let's get to this panel. Let's see what goes on. And
posting it and packing it up, sending it out, all that shit.
The busy time.
Hello.
Yeah.
Hey, Smeth.
Hello.
Howdy.
How are you doing?
Good. Good, good, good. Just setting up. I'm live,
are you live
right
yet?
now. Yes, I am live.
I was asking F-bombs.
I am, but they can't hear us right now.
Gotcha, okay.
Are we hearable on Smeth's stream?
Yes, you are.
All right. And we're waiting on Will and Tuna. Or Tuna say, did he say he can't make it or he's not going to be live?
He's not going to be live. I just realized I can't do what I thought I was going to. And have my background show on yours.
It was on mine.
It was on mine. Yeah, it was on hers.
Right, but then if I do that, then I can't. Wait a minute.
No,
yeah, can I just not show my camera? I'm stupid.
Yeah, duh. You don't. He's so sexy. He wants to be seen twice.
Yes, he is. So I'm taking it you're going Team Gigachad here.
Who, me?
No, I'm making fun of it.
It's fucking hilarious.
Well,
actually
hold on, little cuckold non-Gigachad beta, because if you're making fun of it, isn't that just Gigachatting it? You're fucking Gigachatting by making fun of it.
It ironically is Gigachatting. Yes, it is true. It is true. That's actually a pretty big conundrum at this point.
Yeah,
I'm all for it.
We're gonna talk about it.
Leave it to fucking Will to be late. What is this motherfucker doing? Jesus Christ.
He lives in California, so he's probably getting high.
Well, I'm getting high too. I don't understand why that would stop you.
Are you smoking California weed?
No, I smoke Colorado weed.
I don't do weed a lot since I started streaming because I wanted to stay sharp, and I feel like I'm a better communicator when I don't. But when I do, it's edibles.
I normally make like 2 cookies a day. What do you like, gummies or
candies?
Yeah.
I
make them, yeah.
Okay.
I used to eat like 6 or 7 of those when I was like 20 or something. I wouldn't feel high, but I'd just get fucking dumb. So like I'd just say shit and people were like, "What'd you say?" I'm like, "Oh, don't listen to me, I'm dumb." And I have no idea what I said.
It's like retard pills.
Yeah, dude. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, I'm done waiting on them. I start shit on time. They've already made me late. We'll go over. I will do like a little if some improvised intro. I'll let you guys introduce yourselves. If you want to tell them whatever about you, great, like your links or whatever, then take a minute to give your thoughts about like what Soy and Gigachad is, like a definition of it, more than like your opinion on it.
Okay.
And then
I'll go. Since I'm
2 seconds.
RealSmeth on YouTube and Twitter. You can just call me Smeth.
Oh wait, let me hold on. Wait, give me 1 second. They still can't hear me. Hold on.
All right.
I'm sorry. I forgot you were still live. Okay, so like I said, I'll give a little improv introduction. If you're on Smeth's stream, you're hearing it twice. I thought it would be fun to do a little panel about the age of the Gigachad and how Soy and Gigachad affect our online discourse and whatnot. And if I can have you guys introduce yourselves and start off with like a quick definition of what you think Soy and Gigachad are. Go ahead, Smith.
All right. I'm Smeth. I'm RealSmeth on YouTube and Twitter, but you can call me Smeth and you can call me Seth. But I would say that Gigachad refers to a tendency towards content, and often that means just lying, or something will be like immoral and you don't want to admit it. But like it just saying like, oh, but you know, you shouldn't do that, guys, you shouldn't do that. Fuck off. We're making content here, baby. And Soy is the one trying to be responsible, wimping out, cucking everyone out of their content.
All right, content cuckery. What do you have to say, my fair-headed friend?
I think that Gigachatting, I think it extends out past streaming. I think it's the idea and practice that anything that actually matters to you, you prove the best way that you can that it doesn't fucking matter to you. So like if somebody makes fun of your wife and it bothers you, you go, well, fuck that bitch. Like I don't give a fuck. I'll beat her over the head with a beer bottle. You can say whatever the fuck you want about her. You know, that's Gigachat. And so it'd be anything emotionally sincere. And that's seen as weakness, because if you're emotionally sincere, then people can actually come after you. So Gigachat's kind of like the veil that people wear, because one, it's funny, and two, it actually protects you against certain criticisms online. Whereas if you're open and honest and vulnerable, being Soy, then people make fun of you for it, and that'll make you even more Soy because you'll get your feelings hurt.
I feel like to me, Gigachad was something that was like just basically toxic masculinity that became a meme of toxic masculinity for the point of content. But I think it then served to hide any real feelings, because there was this perverse incentive of Soy where you couldn't take a middle ground of an obvious take of something like rape is bad. You have to take a stance of like, well, what was she wearing? So that you don't have to be seen as giving a real answer. You can now meme through it. So it went from a real thing to a meme to like a hindrance to our communication, is what my opinion is. Thoughts?
I think that it's not just that. I think a lot of times it comes up with, well, what do you mean by rape? We all know what we mean by rape. You gotta build up something so that you can actually respond to something about rape, so that way you're not like, oh my god, rape, you know?
Well, like, give me more description of that. What do you mean by build up?
Well, if you say, well, what do you mean by rape? And then you have a 10-minute conversation about what they mean about rape. Now nobody's really looking to you to respond to the situation. Or if the person's going to say like, well, I had been raped and like this was my experience or anything like that, you're kind of like building yourself up a wall that you can kind of like argue the point about it with.
Like rejecting that they were assaulted.
Well, just rejecting any kind of sensitivity that comes along with talking about rape. That would be like
in a real way, like in a this is bad way.
Yeah, I think so. I think that it really makes those conversations bad for the audience and at least one of the people talking.
So, like, a streamer is talking about, or a Gigachad, not a streamer, a Gigachad answer is stopping like the actual conversation. And hurrying up and saying like the qualifiers, rape is horrible, this is what's happening, my question is, and then you can ask the nuanced question, and that's the Soy way to do it.
I wouldn't describe it as nuance. I just thought of a good way to describe it for me. Emotion, like someone will come in emotional, like say you're saying, oh here they are. Well, someone would come in and be like, guys, I think rape is bad, and then the Gigachad move would be like, you fucking Soy, what are you talking about? You know, like and it's like always like just it's the Gigachad thing is to shut down people that are emotional.
Well, yes, and I think like an example I can I'll get to you guys just 1 second. Hold on. I think an example of that, I remember being in a panel, and as soon as like a hint at the JQ came up, people automatically jumped at it. And then that gives the ability to be like, oh, look at you soy out. Now you're just soying out. And we can't even have the conversation because they've triggered the reaction, and being able to stifle the conversation by just saying, look at you being soy. Now you have to talk about the soy or what that is, instead of, did you just insinuate we need less Jews in banking? Okay, Tuna.
What's up?
We went around real quick. If you can introduce yourself, give a definition of Gigachad and Soy.
Sure. I'm TunaChip. I'm a streamer here. My voice is barely existent because we went real hard trying to watch that new ContraPoints video. 2 hours of turns into 8 hours real fast. Jesus Christ, that thing's long. I'm not even done with it. But yeah, Gigachad, Soy. Right now, I think the best way to describe it is that Gigachad is a masculine presentation of being unbothered. So it's like a position of being above being bothered. But it's more than just being unbothered. It's not ambivalence anymore. It's like, it is cool. It is right. It is good. It is like to purposely stay unbothered or be unbothered. And at any point that a person cracks, you become soy, which soy on the second half of the thing is got your ass. You were bothered. You're triggered. Yeah. I think that's the easiest way to put it. If we want to be a little bit more generous to how these terms can be used in better ways, Gigachad is sort of an extension of that sort of that long standing idea of like Stoicism. This idea that something that we can't affect, we shouldn't be emotional about, we shouldn't care about. And then soy is like to be like constantly like a bug man, just like constantly freaking out about anything, because to be bothered is to care, and to be seen caring is to be morally righteous. So it's a strike back against this like performative level of seeming extremely bothered, because being bothered is what matters. It's like an inversion of that script. So if I had to think about like the whole topic and like why Gigachad is a thing right now, it is a correction and an overcorrection for like this weird like Instagram, Tumblr, like every single what was it? This is so important. That was the old thing before Gigachad existed. This is so important. Why is nobody talking about this? Now it's like, this is so gay. Why is anybody talking about this?
Yeah. Perfect. Yeah, that was very well said.
Will.
Will, you're muted.
Are you pausing for dramatic effect?
Will,
I don't know if he knows how he's muted.
Will is fucking Gigachadding it, is what he's doing. This is a meta version.
He doesn't give a shit.
No, his fucking audios are probably all off, and we're just now
Will just sent me a DM and said talking on panels is gay, so he's not talking today.
Will, can you hear us yet? No? Yeah, help him out somehow.
Oh shit, you're unmuted, but still no. We still can't hear you, bud.
Just, oh my god, this fucking guy comes in late, and then he fucking like, holy shit! Oh wait,
I couldn't hear the words, but I felt them when he said them.
Wait, I'm sorry.
Look at fucking F-bombs being soying out over a basic technical issue.
Yeah, get over it.
Wait, I thought I was Gigachatting because I was yelling at him when I should have been showing empathy.
Here's the thing. I think that Soy and Gigachad aren't mutually exclusive to
the spectrum.
Like to the toxic masculinity or the performative rage or anything. You can have good soy rage and content, but it's just I think it's kind of like TunaChip said. It's like being seen as caring is like makes it look like you're one of those virtue signalers and shit. And to Gigachad someone else makes them look like they're the virtue signaler, even if you're not. Even if you actually care, me Gigachatting to you makes it puts me on a pedestal, or puts me on like a position where I'm responding to your virtue signal. You're obviously just faking it. Your emotions, fuck that.
See,
Nobody cares about shit.
I think these things can be so vast. Like, I'm thinking of a TikTok where there's a girl and a guy in their car, right? And the girl's like, "Oh, honey, that car's just like yours, except it's nicer." And he goes, "Oh, I bet his girlfriend's hotter too." And then you have like the Gigachad sound.
Damn.
And it's like, to me, that's a version of Gigachad where you're just like ruthless about what you say, but you weren't necessarily wrong for like it's not necessarily a wrong, but it is like, oh fuck.
I think that's a version of murder F-bombs. I think that's what that is.
Can we hear you yet, Will?
Yeah, are we there? Did it work?
Yeah, we're
Yes.
here.
There we go.
We're here.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
We're here,
Yeah,
baby.
Let's see how long it lasts.
That's okay.
It's not a Will and his channel stream without at least 2 or 3 audio cutouts. So
Will
Well,
and his
I
audio
think,
channels.
yeah, it's pretty. We'll get there eventually.
All right. ahead.
I think being a Gigachad is saying the unpopular opinion in a way that makes people feel a positive emotion. Like, being a Gigachad, I think, is kind of weird because you don't necessarily have to be right, but sometimes you are. And yeah, I think that the thing about being soy is it's saying the popular opinion in a way that usually makes people feel a negative emotion. Like, being soy is like, you're just like, oh, rape is bad, abortion can harm things, like, you just have a really boring opinion and people are just like, well, that's so soy. But then if you come out of like left field and you have a really weird opinion, like all forms of sex are possibly rape, people are just like, Gigachad, like, yeah, like, because that's the weird opinion,
Interestingly, though, if you
So,
said
yeah.
no forms of sex are technically rape, also Gigachad.
Bow, 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 bow.
Perhaps
bow.
slightly
Yeah,
more
we're all here.
Gigachad, yeah?
You
Yeah,
just
so
blew
it's kinda
my
just, like, your
mind.
perspective.
It is about presentation. That's a good point. Because, like, you could take the Dworkin shit and say, like, yeah, fucking
Those noises were me.
penetration is rape. Exclusively. It is a violent act. And you can say that in a way where everyone's like, okay, you fucking bothered woman. You fucking soyed out woman. And then you could also say it in a way, I think, actually, in one way, there's something of a sexist quality to it. Let's go soy about talking about soy, where being a man does make a majority of things sound less soy because they're women's problems. If I say women don't matter, Gigachad. If I'm a woman and I say women don't matter, pick me. If I say men don't matter, I'm being soy. Oh, okay, yeah. Contaminated by the Jew mind virus, feminist. Fucking you probably have the fucking vaccine, but
So-
the woman's within her own group, that's her being like, I guess, Giga Stacy.
So would you? Well, I was gonna say, would you say then Gigachad is more like manosphere bound, but they can give like license to women to borrow it sometimes? Be like, oh shit, that was Gigachad by her. But it's more of always a surprise if a woman does it.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely like phallic symbolically. Like, it is all about just like it's you're big dicking it. That's like one way to call it too. You're big dicking it.
The thing is,
Some
like,
things are only Gigachad if a woman says them. Like, it just wouldn't be Gigachad if a man
Yeah,
said
but that's not really the point. Like,
No, I think that's a legitimate point. Will, give an example.
okay.
This shit's cringe.
Like if women, like if someone's trying to be like super sexual and like a woman just fucking owns it. It's just like, yeah, blah 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 blah. People might just be like, Gigachad, holy shit, versus like I don't know, I wouldn't really see a man maybe do that.
Yeah, if somebody says you probably suck a lot of dick, if she goes, shut the fuck up, I'll suck your dick too, bitch. Like, Gigachad.
Yeah, but see how you said it with a surprise? You weren't like Gigachad. Like, if a dude did it, you were like, oh, Gigachad. It's like you were caught off guard because a woman had big dick energy.
I
It's
know
also
one thing.
also an element of
Very
irony too.
vulgar.
Element of irony makes something
Yes.
gigachatting.
Okay.
So the issue is like it's kind of obvious when we see it, but it's really hard to accurately, perfectly define it. It's like it's a heuristic. It's that there's like a lot of different things going into this.
Well, so okay. Go ahead, Tuna.
I noticed something that we kind of like touched on there, which or like I didn't even realize the bigger implication of the big dick in it thing, but also the thing with the woman. What makes something gigachad? Why is it cool to be unbothered? It's because theoretically you have some kind of immutable value. You don't take your value from others' opinions. That's the big thing. It's the thing that we all really want, which is like this immutable confidence. Big dicking it is all about his dick is so big he doesn't need to cater to women's opinions, right? It's this idea that there's an internal value, and I think that's one of the main reasons that it's so important to men, is because most women are already kind of innately valuing themselves by their body. If we're thinking like really like hot women, there's more hot women than there are like valuable men, because
Okay, so gigachad is like our lots of colors and funny dance that a male bird does to try to get a mate. We're
No.
trying to project this. We don't give a fuck, but we don't give a fuck because we think, well, okay, so there's authentic gigachad and then there's the faux gigachad. Like the
I think they're
authentic
the same
gigachad
gigachad.
won't be that stoicism.
There's having a big dick, and then there's giving off the energy as if you have a big dick. If that's the distinction, then yeah.
I don't
But
know
you
why
can
we have
have
to make it
both.
so phallic. I'll be
You can have
honest. I think
both.
it.
Well,
I
he
think it's just the
specifically said
confidence
it's
to say
phallic.
things outside.
I think that it's
Like-
phallic. I think that it's
Oh,
no
got you. I'm
different.
sorry.
Yeah, that's my theory. That's why I'm saying it.
Okay, then this is more directed at Tuna. Like, I think it's more just like a confidence to go outside the Overton window, and then just depending on what kind of person you are, just naturally, whatever you can say, your Overton window changes depending on who you are. So, like, I don't really feel like needs to be such an emphasis on like on this phallic thing. It's just women
Okay,
have
wait,
different
I
Overton
agree
windows
with
than
you.
men
So
do.
a non-phallic example, like when Aiko did the "I will peg you" about Haas,
How's that
and
not phallic?
oh,
What's
did
she
I say?
pegging with?
Did I say not phallic? I'm sorry. I lied completely.
Literally borrowing the symbol of the phallus.
When Aiko said she would totally peg Haas and did this whole song that like was hilariously gigachad, it's because of the pegging more than the embarrassment. Interesting.
I'm stuck on. I'm still holding tight to the sort of dismissal of people's emotions. Like one good example of how to gigachad would be like, say that you just said that, but you were emotional about it. I'd be like, looks like I don't think you're cut out for this space. You know, I think you're a little bit too sensitive. I think you like, you know, you're just not cut out for this. You know, like you get a grip, buddy.
You say that's what soy is?
No, that's gigachatting. I'm gigachatting you if I do that.
Okay. Sorry.
I think there's
okay,
that
that
her
makes sense.
saying that is probably the most gigachad thing I've ever heard. It encapsulates everybody's fucking definition all at once. Like, there's nothing more big dick energy than fucking a man in the ass. And talking about it in public, talking about the inevitable ass rape that this man is going to have. That is like peak prime. Like, I don't give a fuck. Big dick energy.
Fuck you. I want my ass raped. Fuck you. I'm ready. I have a butt plug in right now, ready to get fucking ass raped. I'm perfect and prime. I'm lubed.
So it's
You see, this is what we call a power bottom, right?
so it's just the attitude. It's just the attitude then, more than even what's being said. I think somebody said it earlier. It's like the setup, the emotion, the delivery more than the content.
The social dynamic.
You probably don't even eat fucking Cocoa Puffs like into a gig. Like it doesn't really even matter, I guess. Like if I'm just shitting on you in a way that's to embarrass you or to like show I don't give two shits about what you're saying, then so it's demeaning them in some, emasculating them in some way.
While that can be a part of this dynamic, the most important part of the Gigachad is actually that the Gigachad is like a response to a caustic environment by being unbothered, right? It's not merely like insulting someone. It's like when they come to you and they say like, hey, I saw you say the N-word on stream yesterday, and you said, yeah, my pronouns are that / giga. And then, it's all about being unbothered by critique, not looking towards external things for validation.
Right.
Like if I came to you and I just said, like, if I just like called you the F slur, am I being Gigachad right then? No, you need more data. You need more info.
Right.
Also be like crying. Like, you could be West Aquamarine in my fucking DMs every day.
It's interesting. It's interesting because being self-assured is a very good quality, I think, and that's like of all my qualities, I think that's the one that's good about me. I have a lot of like shit about me. It's not perfect, but I am self-assured. But to be a streamer and be self-assured, there's this element of the chat to actually perform as self-assured. You're not actually being self-assured. You're assured by your chat. You're assured by the audience. It's not yourself. So when you to your audience are saying, oh, like, well, I don't fucking care. Like if you think if you are sad that I'm using the N-word, I'll just say it right now. Your audience would be like, bro. It's not yourself being assured. It's them assuring you.
I agree.
So
I think
back
only
to
your
a
audience
glorious
can
life.
determine the Gigachad.
Say it again.
I think only the audience can really determine if the person's being Gigachad or Soy. I don't think like people independently in the conversation get determined. Like if they're like, oh yeah, I'm being a Gigachad right now. Everybody thinks they're being a Gigachad. No one thinks they're being Soy. I think it's really the audience that determines that.
Okay. I was like 17 hours deep into like toxoplasmosis and fucking in dreamland. But I woke up in the middle of the night and I typed something that I think Gigachad and a couple of other things, which in this instance I wrote down the word swag. But there is a certain there is a word. We're trying to find a word all the time for the ineffable quality of the fact that we desire to not desire to be desirable. It's a really, really weird thing. But basically we see people who are like, yeah, we see self-assurance and we see like, God, I'd love to be self-assured. But the only way to get it is for like, you're not going to get it by wanting it. And a lot of the people that are going forth and getting it, yeah, it's like you say, the performance of Gigachad is actually the least Gigachad. And I guess you could say, oh God. And I'm gonna double down on this phallic thing, because if we think about unbothered women, right? If they do it in a vaginal way, if they express it labially, somebody like Katie, where like Katie's not a person that seems to like change her personality. Very often she does when she's talking to really big streamers, but that's its own thing. But it's like, we aren't going to call someone like Katie a Gigachad for like fucking insulting people and like talking down to people. Most people call that a bitch, right? That's the classic one. That's a bitch. That's not a Gigachad. That's like somehow being Soy and Giga at the same time.
Well, so there is a level, like when it comes phallically, I do feel like there are some emotions that I'm starting to see are standards in these different definitions, like powerful, feeling in control, above it all, like I'm beyond it, but I'm also like beyond it in a way where I'm participating in the world, but I'm not bound by it. Like it is this essence, this it factor that people are, I think you tried to describe earlier, but also there's a exact opposite of that to it, where there is a level of it in other ways Gigachad is used. There's a level of insecurity where you can't just take the negative comment, you have to fight back. And I do think there is an emasculation to it.
Before you added the phallic stuff, you were literally just giving the classical definition of cool.
Is that Gigachad?
It's about as close. It's about as close to a healthy representation of what Gigachad wants to be as we exist for. Yeah.
Yeah,
but this is like the meme that I think about it. This is like the healthy version of Gigachad.
Yeah, give it Gigachad. Honestly, yeah.
I thought you were just making fun of me.
No, I'm not just calling you
That's
fat.
fucking hilarious.
I do that. That's for your DMs. Drop.
Wait, so does that mean? Would you say that Gigachad falls within the circle? Or would you say that that guy in that picture falls within the Venn diagram of Gigachad, or is it separate? Is there overlap? Like, would you call that guy Gigachad, or is he something Gigachad is only trying to be, but is only a simulacrum of?
So if I'm gonna crack open the theory thing, I think a lot of this is Nietzschean, right? Because Nietzsche's whole thing, resentment, is about like being weak but loving strength, and that's like what Gigachad is like, because I am weak, I worship strength. But the thing that should actually be worshipped is something Dionysian, something that is in tune with nature, something that is not filled with shame, such that it needs to erode all things that it doesn't like about itself. So when you were saying like, you're being soy, you're being X, Y, Z, the reason that those claims, the critiques of soyness, even bother you at all is because you're full of shame, you're full of self-doubt, you're full of the idea that you need to be assured by something. And Gigachad is not a cure for that. It's actually just obeying the rules.
It's avoidance. It's avoidance.
Well, hold on. There's two things from chat that fit into that, and I want to see what you have to say.
Sure.
The first is how much of self-confidence is nothing more than self-deception. And then the other is to understand what it means to be Gigachad, it would be helpful to define Chad. And I think those are true. Both of those apply perfectly, because I was going to ask if there is a level of like confidence, but also humility at the same time that goes into a Gigachad.
Chad is being an apex male. It's being like an alpha male. It's about being like highly desired to such a point that you like are it's simply the fact that you're like, you fulfill the main desires, but by default, not because you're trying really hard to do it, but like you were kind of born into being a successful male. That's what Chad is.
Am I the only person that, like, when I hear someone say Gigachad or say Chad, I like subconsciously think /Stacy, like
Stacy's
all
in
the
there.
time. Well,
That's the soyest shit I've ever heard in my life.
Why does it
that
have
is
to be
some
like
fucking feminism.
That's
soy
fine.
Shit.
I just don't understand why it's so the focus on male stuff so much. Is that weird? Can someone like ELI5 me like the like
what's a Chad?
Hold on. What TunaChip said earlier really resonated with me. I hadn't thought of before. Is just to summarize it really briefly, it's way harder for women to get the Gigachad. It's way harder for them to be seen as doing the Gigachad thing than it is for men in general.
I don't think. Is that really true?
If you don't think so, I respect that a lot, but I actually do think so. So you're better than me.
Like when Anna Kasparian debates, like Ben Shapiro. So sometimes I'm like, fuck Gigachad. Like when she does some dunks on Benny, like I think it just depends on the type of.
I would just be. I don't think I would even think to say that.
Like, I think women have to work against their own interest in order to like be Gigachading.
Yeah, okay, like, I was on some fucking panel, and, both, Mr. Girl and, Lee, Famoid, whatever fuck, Lav, she was on there, and she said something that I was like, this is a fucking Gigachad, she's just Gigachading. She said, well, rape isn't even that bad. Like I got raped and it wasn't even that bad, and I was like, you're just giga chatting.
It always comes down to some sexual example.
Because she's being ironic.
Almost every time, it seems like.
But I feel like that might just be because we're uncreative. And those are just the ones that stick in our minds the most because, like, they resonate the most with the audience. But I mean, like, I don't think being a gigachat has to be sexual. Like when
I don't think it has
on,
to be. I don't think it has to be, but
it doesn't have to be, but it should be.
I think
like Vosh back in the day, when Vosh back in the day used to debate like tankies and shit, there would just be, or people who were against abortion. There would just be times where we were like, "Holy fuck, Vosh is being a giga chad right now." And it had nothing to do with being sexual, right? Like, it's just because he's fucking destroying this guy.
You're missing a crucial element here, which is that this is a male social space. It is defined by male sociality. It is not a woman's social space. When you're inside of like a fucking Facebook group talking about Pretty Little Liars and Gilmore Girls, maybe there, because the culture is so incredibly designed around female sociality, we can start talking about it a little bit differently. But right now, frankly, most people see a woman being loud and they think she's either being soy or a bitch. They're not thinking she's being a gigachad. If anything, when we were talking about Anna, the real gigachad thing is that she's being like, restrained or something. And most people aren't going to be calling that like gigachad. Most people are thinking of it as like, she dunked on him. She emasculated him. It's about removing the penis. That's castration.
She was the man in that situation. She said, I'm going to fuck you in the ass.
Yeah. Thus the pegging
with
example.
A fake dick. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Look at me. I have the dick now,
Yeah. I am the dick now.
I do think that Katie is a gigachad, by the way. When I listen to Katie talk and the way she will just be like, no, I don't think so. Like, I'm just like, that's a movement.
Well, she also does the thing where she tries to emasculate men when she's talking to them.
Yeah, she
does. It's a part of a thing. She talks them down to them like they're a baby. She enters the sort of like diminutive quality. It's all related, I think, towards like at the end of the day, what is Chad? It is the desire to be a desirable male. It is the desire to be big dick in it.
Okay.
We get it. Katie's like a fucking comic book feminist. Okay.
All right. Well, let me read something from chat and then I'll move us forward.
Drazi, before you read this, Drazi, can you turn up your fucking noise gate? I can hear your chastity shingling in the fucking background. Either that or unlock it. I'm not into this. Now go ahead.
Okay. It seems to me that the term gigachad implies to a dominant relationship between gigachads and chads. Would chads admire or resent gigachads within their hierarchy? Is a chad a failed gigachad? I would say a chad is a chad, which is supposed to be a fucking like a pedestal position, not a Brad, but a chad. So a gigachad would be like their leader, and their leader also has to like be like the alpha, but also sometimes not be the alpha. Like has to play all those roles. So there will be some that resent, but that's the weakness between a chad and a gigachad. Like you'd have to not be able to be bothered by the attention of the gigachad to become a gigachad.
I think that the phrase chad came from almost exclusively at first from pure physicality.
Yeah.
It was about having like sunglasses and chiseled jawline and 5 o'clock shadow, but you didn't even fucking notice. That kind of shit.
Well, I don't know if that's necessarily true. I mean, think about like the people in like Versailles, those were the fucking wimpiest motherfuckers of all time, but they were spitting rhymes and,
Look, I think you guys are arguing about what a gigachad is, but I think some people just know. Some people know what it is, and some people don't. And clearly, you guys don't know what it is. So can we just fucking move on?
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Now, let's get into the soy side of this conversation. does it take more strength to be Soy in front of others or Gigachad in front of others?
I think it takes more charisma to be Gigachad, and it takes more strength to be Soy.
Okay, let me just clean it up a little bit. Soy on purpose. Like, you're aware that what you're about to do is going to be perceived as Soy, and you're willing to go through the gauntlet of being Soy to say your point.
Well, if
You're
you
not-
load
you're-
it like
Yeah,
that,
Well, no,
then
wait,
I'm still gonna say the same thing. I still think
I want to
it's strength.
separate it from the triggered example that was given before, like a controlled Soy as compared to like a freak out Soy. Just so
Sure.
that we're
This
talking
is
more
important.
of one
Okay.
thing.
Well, yeah. If you lead the question, then you're just saying that you have a good understanding of what these words mean. And yeah, we all have a good understanding of what these words mean because we've been having this conversation. The thing that people like makes soy genuine soy, fucking factory grade USD approved soy, is that the thing that's actually driving the car is your emotions. That's what being soy is. Like he's soying out. It's all he's in his emotional, he's in his feels. And the thing, so if you're instead taking a principled popular position against everybody that is having a lot of fun saying like Hitler was right, or like fucking women need to be put in an insane asylum, or like things that are fun to say because they're like Gigachad. It takes resolve. It takes resolve to be the only person who's like above, having their fun and say, you know what, the fun is over. We can just have a real conversation for once. But I don't think that's even being soy at that point. What you've done is you've de-soyed.
Well, no, I get that, but everything is a binary, especially in the world we exist in online. There isn't
We all agree it's a
nuance.
spectrum, right?
There isn't a
Soy
nuance.
on one end, Gigachad on the other.
Yeah. Yes, I think so.
Okay.
Well, because if you're saying Gigachad is like that I'm above it, and Soy is I'm controlled by it, they seem opposite end of the spectrum.
Well, the thing is that a Gigachad presents himself as a Gigachad because he is above it supposedly, but he's not above demonstrating that he's above it. Okay,
I don't know what that is.
Rocky,
It's
I don't
funny
know
as
if you
fuck.
know this, but your roommate is fucking going crazy. Is he playing like Halo fucking Infinite or something?
He's probably just playing League. That's just one of the bonuses of my streams. Every once in a while, you get an outburst. That's my fucking life. Okay.
That's the real Gigachad.
I'm actually into it. It's really funny. Someone in my chat just said, I think I just agree with this. I feel like it depends on a person. In general, there are difficulties in pretending who you are, but also there are difficulties in showing your true self.
That's okay. I think that Smeth is really, for me, has been hitting this conversation the best for me. Like with the irony bit, and about like hiding behind shit. Like the thing about being soy, the thing about being Gigachad is I really think that they want to have their cake and eat it too. Like they want to be able to say the outrageous opinion, but then they don't want to be held accountable for having said outrageous opinion. Whereas the soy people like really care about their opinion.
Well, that's when they become soy.
They
They can Gigachad and then soy about what happened after their Gigachad.
Yeah, but that's a cop out because the reality is that you get to pick what direction to go after you leave it up in the air. You basically leave it up in the air with your irony, so you hide behind that. You see how your audience reacted to it, and then you get to decide how you move after that. So that's kind of the benefit of being a Gigachad.
I don't know if I said it out loud earlier, but I was trying to figure out, is there a distinction between an actual Gigachad and a faux Gigachad?
I don't think so.
I mean,
I think the foe is what it is.
I think. Okay, hold on. I think.
It's a presentation.
Sorry, you haven't been talking. I'll just shut up. Okay.
That was it. It's a presentation.
Okay. I think that there is a difference, but only in theory and philosophy. But in the conversation we're having, we're talking about streamers. And I think that the real Gigachad cannot be a streamer. Like, genuinely, like, it undermines actual, like, the actual, like, Gigachad who's just, like, the Nietzschean, like, naturally just, like, everybody revolves around them and stuff. Like, that person, if that person starts reading chat at all, like, they're no longer actually the real Gigachad. So in the context of being a streamer where you are like have an audience and you're like you are subservient to your audience, it's always going to be.
Wait a minute, wait. I'm gonna fuck with you on this because you're now asserting when Hassan soys out at his chat, he's actually Gigachatting.
No, that's not true.
That's not what I'm saying.
He's not asserting that. He's asserting the opposite.
He said just by looking at the chat, disqualified
from being a Gigachad.
A real Gigachad.
Like a real Gigachad would like the archetype, the impossible, because in streaming I think it's actually kind of impossible. Would have to be someone who like streams and everybody's like, wow, you're amazing, and looks up to, is completely self-assured, never reads chat once, or if he does, it doesn't like phase him like at all. Like, so I guess there are streamers that don't really read chat and it doesn't phase them. Like I guess that would be the Gigachad.
Mr. Girl, 4 months into streaming, I mean, like peak Gigachad, didn't fucking read chats or super chats or the regular chat.
Yeah,
would have these crazy interviews, like fucking weird ass opinions. Did not give a fuck. That was real Gigachad.
He lost that though. Like he was that early on, but now
yes, he did.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Well, speaking
of, up pretty heavy.
Well, speaking of Max, there, I'll move on to what spurred on this actual panel. Chud was having a stream that ended up becoming a pivotal point in Max's career. And it was the Destiny conversation about Nick Fuentes. And the original purpose of that conversation was supposed to be to discuss the dangers of Gigachad, that in essence, to like put it in my own words of what I think the argument was, Destiny's refusal to not Gigachad around alt-right people is dangerous, to not be able to show some soy to show that like it's wrong or whatever. That was, I believe, the original concern, that in the age of the Gigachad, we're willing to accept horrific behavior because not Gigachatting at it is soy.
I'd have to give Chud a little extra credit on that, but if I could just add to that, I think that part of the issue, if I'm going to steelman the fuck out of what Chud was saying, is that if you're going to Gigachad everybody else, around everybody else, and then not conservatives, if that's when you pull back and you soy out like a little bitch and you can't even take criticisms about it, now it's a really big fucking problem. This is what the issue is. Because he's not complaining about if he doesn't do it once in a while to somebody who's not conservative. But when it happens strictly on one side, that's when it's extra bad. That's all.
I'd be interested in knowing what Chud has to say now, because that was what the age of the Gigachad thing was Chud's thesis. And honestly, that I would say that more than represents a big moment in Mr. Girl's career. I think the Fuentes thing obviously does because of his YouTube, but I think when I think about the timeline of Chud, that's when he kind of like blew up. And also that's when he like soon after that he started doing his face cam and stuff. Like he grew as a person in a lot of ways. He was more afraid to speak his mind, and then he had this moment. But also I would say like at the moment he's very Gigachad. So I would generally like really like to know like what his thoughts on that original Gigachad thesis is. Because it was his
brilliant, Smeth. That was really good.
I think he might have said something, but I don't remember, because I remember when he was reading for 17,000 hours, there was a whole portion that exposed his DMs to Max about that, where he was worried, he was concerned about what Destiny was doing, but also was restricted to not being able to say that publicly because of his image. And that is stifling speech, which to me isn't really Gigachad to be worried about something behind the scenes and Gigachad publicly. But I think that's like, is that the Matrix?
We'll talk about it in a moment. Finish your statement.
I think that's part of like the juxtaposition of it all. Is it is partially an act that can be limiting. Not just for Chud, for anybody that Gigachats, because if they have this reputation of an expected answer, then like deviating to give a fuck or, you know, can totally ruin what you've built.
I think that's what your question is. What does it take more courage to be? I think it's really easy to posture as being this idea of like the Gigachad, but like when it comes down to it, when it actually comes up to like saying what you actually think is right and all that, I think that it's a really good mask to wear so that you don't have to soy out about something. Because like we know that Chud was like pretty disturbed about the whole Nick Fuentes thing, and he really wanted to bring it up and have that conversation. When the conversation came, he kind of left Mr. Girl out to dry.
Well,
and then
I wouldn't define it that way, but I'm not going to argue.
He backed down.
I'm not going to argue Chud. I'm not going to argue Chud's thing here. We could argue that. I just don't find it like. I mean, I guess
I didn't know it was like that.
Well, so Chud's, from my understanding, Chud's position was he viewed the conversation. He saw clips, had concerns, then viewed the whole conversation, saw the clips in context, and didn't have the same concerns, and wanted to talk about Gigachad and Soy, but Max made it about Fuentes, which kind of did put him in a place where it was like, I don't even know how to participate.
I remember that, yeah.
I want to underline something here with what Drazi was saying, and I think that there's a decent analogy with this character from the original Matrix. If anybody hasn't seen it, this is sort of the rat, the traitor of the Matrix, and there are two defining scenes of his character. Well, there's more than two, but this and then the contrast. There's a set of scenes on the other side. So this is his Gigachad moment. This is his I'm above the fake distinction, right? And this is sort of what is going on whenever a person is aware of the toxicity of the culture, but then says, but much ado, there's only one choice. Accept it, become willing towards it.
I think a lot of people define that as the ultimate soy moment.
Well, that's the point, though. The second moment is the fact that at the end of the day, he is servant to that choice. The moment that you decide that you are going to play by the rules, you have to play by the rules until you die.
Okay, now that takes us all the way back. You're welcome, Will. That takes us to Will's box, actually, which
sorry, what?
You're saying that you have to take responsibility for those knowing choices. No, like at each moment that you make that choice, you've got to deal with the future consequences of the choice you knowingly made, Soy or Gigachad.
You become entangled. That's the technical term.
Okay, I would agree with that.
Indebted.
Well,
enslaved.
I think entangled. I think entangled makes a better metaphor because you're like.
It's the quantum physics term.
Yeah, it's like Biff. It's like Biff and McFly. Like they're. I guess that's a bad
cucked.
You become cucked.
Yeah, you do. Because
you
eventually
let the idea walk into your bedroom and fuck your wife.
Eventually,
a lot of things fucked my wife back then.
Because the soy thing that you're repressing, the soy thing, the person that you're repressing, that like whenever you're like, oh, you're just too sensitive. One of these days you're going to be sensitive. You know what I mean? And so you're fucking yourself. Like every time you shut that down, you're saying, "Oh, well, you're just not cut out for it." One of these days, it's like the boy who cried wolf. One of these days, like you're gonna see the wolf, and you're gonna be like one of these days, you're gonna be the Jewish streamer that's getting dogpiled by Nick Fuentes or whatever, and getting like mass reported, and you're gonna be like, guys, like this isn't right. You know, this is right, and they'd be like, fucking soy.
Well, but that's the thing is, at that point, the only reason I would be soy is because I was previously Gigachad. Like if my channel was under attack and I'm like, yo, can somebody help me? That's not fucking soy. But if I was like, look at you bitches always complaining about getting canceled, and then I get canceled, I'm like, yo, can somebody help? That's fucking soy.
Wait, I just realized. I just heard these terms used like 5,000 times. Rapid fire. This is exactly the same thing. We used to have a spectrum of like, that's really fucking badass, and that's gay. It's the same exact fucking thing. Soy is just, that's gay, and being Gigachad is just being badass. That's all it is.
Yeah.
And we can define it however we want to define it, but like I think at the end of the day, that's all we're actually saying. Well, this is exactly the same conversations I've heard.
Yeah, you're
like most of my life.
It's like gay milk. You're eating bricks of fried gay, right? That's what tofu is. All of it, yeah. It's symbolically always been the same. That's literally why soy was, put in there. Is this idea you're fruity. You're being a little fruity boy.
Soy is literally emasculating because it has estrogen in it. You're emasculating yourself. Yeah. So that is why it's phallic.
Yeah. That's also I think the intent of Gigachatting is to emasculate the other person.
You want to soy them.
Yeah,
you want to soy them. You want to make them drink the soy milk.
Yeah.
Well, masculinity has always been about you being the one with the big dick and them being the fleshlight male that you rape in the middle of the woods. It's always been about dominance. It's always been about making it so that you're the one. That's kind of one of the like inside of the cuck thing too, right? The entire thing of the cuck thing, when we talk about someone that is a cuck, they have like become fetishistically okay with the fact that they are a non-dominant male being dominated by another male symbolically through their wife. And when I just thought about the cuck thing now, it is really interesting that there are a couple of situations where depending on what side of the fence you are on, you will call it either Gigachad or soy. Most importantly, the act of letting your wife sleep with other men. Is Destiny being soy? He's not
just anybody that doesn't give a fuck. Anybody that's like, yeah, my wife is out fucking people. Why should I care? She's happy.
Well, that's the thing. You could take it in one end and say, yeah, that's Gigachad. Oh, he's unbothered. Yeah, he doesn't. He's not bothered by the fact that his wife's sleeping. But then other people will be like, no, he's bothered, but he's suppressing it. And what's actually happening is he's actually being very soy by suppressing it, so on and so forth. It's always like we think we're in their head. We think we know why they are doing what they're doing. And that's why we're able to call someone a Gigachad or call them soy, is that we're like assuming that we know their motivations.
Okay, so we have a cuck to soy to Chad to Gigachad evolution.
Sure.
So let's go back.
Yeah, the thing where it's like the girl who is like wearing like a gray sweater and she has like brunette hair and a ponytail, and then she like bends over and like finds like a piece of lipstick, and then she becomes Pamela Anderson bit by bit. It's the same thing, but instead it's like
the evolution of man, to the pretty funny. That's pretty funny. But at the same time, the Overton window changes constantly, or the viewpoint makes Gigachad. But let's go back to
to yesterday's Gigachad is tomorrow's soy.
Yeah, I think you guys missed the main thing that I was trying to point out when I said it used to be gay and badass. The entire fucking frame here is soy as fuck. We're using different words to navigate around fucking PC.
Yeah, fucking get over yourself and call it gay, you fucking cuck.
Wait.
I thought you were gonna say the F slur.
Wait.
I thought you were gonna.
You're thinking this boils down to a PC conversation?
No, just
why do we
in
stop
one
saying?
way.
Everybody pretty much agreed when I said that it's just the same thing as when we used to say that's gay or that's badass, right? But the reason why we don't do that anymore is because you get in trouble for saying that's gay now. Because what's wrong with being gay?
That's weak and that's dope. Or like you're just picking any two polar words and saying we're not using those words.
I'm picking the most colloquially used words for these things throughout my entire life growing up. These are the things that I've heard more for this thing, more than anything else.
So confirmation of a homophobic upbringing. Okay, fine.
It was in our media all over the place. People would call things.
I mean,
gay.
I went to middle school.
There was commercials
you know?
to dissuade people from saying it.
But okay, but why is it that today we don't call things gay and badass? It's because the reality is that we're just using gay to substitute weak and.
Yeah, because it's shitty.
Gay people started being alpha in prison.
True.
I think that generally, people that are being soy, they are generally more honest because they have more of an incentive to be honest because they don't get any other benefit from being soy.
Not based on the other. See, that's what I'm saying is that the one portion of the definition of soy is like being triggered, and being triggered is the exact opposite of being in control. So that's why I tried to say, I don't want to use the triggered soy. I want to use the, I'm in control and I'm choosing to not Gigachad. I'm going to have the actual conversation that I'm going to get mocked for, that they're going to call soy, but I don't perceive as soy. But the soy, does it matter if I perceive I'm soy or not, if I'm to be soy?
No,
that's what Jesus said. That's what Jesus said.
That is what Jesus said.
Jesus dared to be soy. Jesus dared to be soy.
So WWJD.
Jesus
soy.
died for your soyness.
But I think that still makes you. It still makes you soy though, because you're still being genuine. Go ahead.
If they're okay, so we had that all the senators and stuff interviewing that guy from TikTok, the CEO or whatever. And the Republicans are interviewing this guy. They don't even know what like a wireless modem is, and they think that they're giga chatting this guy, answering him all these tough questions and shit. Whereas I look at it and I'm thinking, wow, like this guy is just a complete fucking moron, blah, blah, blah. But I know like internally that guy thinks he's going hard. Like, how does that play into this whole GigaChad thing? Like, he thinks that he's a GigaChad. I do not think he is. Who gets to determine like who is a GigaChad and who isn't?
Can you have an example? Can you give an example? Like what? Like Trump or?
It's the court of public opinion.
It's just identity. It's part of it's what you think. That's how it's going to reflect to you, and part of it is what other people think. If you think you're, I feel like if you think you're giga chatting on somebody really hard, then that it may or may not be the case. But if you think you're being a soy little bitch, everybody probably agrees with you.
Does being soy always have to be negative?
In the framing in this space, I think it almost always is, but I would normally contest that.
Well, the way you just said that. Does being soy always have I'm just fucking with you. I'm doing the gig. I'm sorry.
That was pretty funny.
Big puppy dog eyes.
That just reminded me of the letter, Kenny. That's the softest thing you've ever said.
No, it was good. Like, but I think that was a soy thing to say, but that moved the conversation forward, and I just shut it down by being GigaChad.
Well, that's the whole. That's the question.
Why was it soy?
It
was soy. It was a genuine question, and you, in your. Yeah, it's. I think you're actually asking a question, and you're emotionally present in the conversation.
So GigaChad there's always this like dissonance you need to have when you're trying to be a GigaChad. There's and do you have to know that there's this dissonance?
I don't think you have to know it. I think some people are just like a lot to be a a man, to be like a stereotypical man, like with a stereotypical toxic masculinity. It's just natural. You naturally repress your emotions like that.
Probably fair.
Somebody in my chat just said, Soy, you're worried about the perception of others and what's right from the perspective of yourself or your friend group, which generally leads to a built narrative. So, but performing as like your Gigachad is exactly that too, though. So I think that it really comes down to your internal sense and what other people think at the same, like it's both of those things. And depending on the lens, you're going to get a different framing of it.
It's the superiority of caring versus the superiority of not caring. That's what I'm talking about with that like cultural recorrection. There's a period of time where it's like, you guys don't care enough. This is really, really important. And now it's like everybody cares way too much. Nothing is important. That's the thing.
Which
Does
I'm
being a
sure,
Gigachad
I'm sure
require
originated from a you don't care enough. Like there will always be that back and forth of like the Newton balls, where until somebody says, I'm not going to fight back, then like the oppositions will always continue. Like you have to fight when you're playing hockey, you have to catch it by cradling it, not by going towards it. And Soy and Gigachad tend to just be oppositional. And so there's no moving forward of that. So like it will always swing back and forth until that somehow changes. So regardless of whether it's internal, external, if Soy is I have to correct the Gigachad and Gigachad is these fucking Soys, how do you ever move anywhere? Like that's where that oppositional force is constant. Jesus. Gay virtue signaling? Is that what you just drew?
We're gonna get there. We're gonna get there. We're gonna get to a point where the only thing that anybody can care about at all anymore is like whether or not there's a gun against their fucking head. That's the absolutism of like not caring is the only thing. The only thing that could matter is like whether you're in a life or death situation. And on the other hand, the only thing that's allowed to not matter is being inside of like this like dominant class of like people that are purely evil or something. I think that's also another thing that was unrecognized, which is that nobody, maybe I'm wrong here, nobody black is calling themselves Gigachad or calling each other Gigachad. This is a white male thing. This is a new thing that is like coming out. It's mostly happening in our space. It's also a nerd thing. It's not an actual Chad thing. Like, what is this actually? It's like wrestling. It's kind of like we're talking about people that have wrists that look like this, that have facial hair that is patchy as ours are. It's people that have girlfriends that have the number of boyfriends that our girlfriends have. That's what it is.
I want to correct you on something, just to save you from your fucking racism. But you made this paradigm of like, you know, blacks wouldn't say that, and that made sense to me. But then you said there's also a nerd thing, like. There's such a massive black nerd culture.
Vegeta. You're right. Dragon Ball Z. You're right. I take it back.
And Naruto.
Some black people are white. You are correct.
Okay.
I don't know where to go with that.
Okay. Address the underlying point, because I'm like being jovial, or I'm not jovial. I'm like talking in a joking tone, but like I'm making I think the most relevant point. Why is everybody fucking obsessed with being Gigachad? It's because nobody here is Chad. It's like an artificial hierarchy of unbothered.
I disagree. I disagree. I think it is a self-esteem thing more than a reality thing. I don't think Chad is based in physical appearance anymore. Neither is Gigachad. I think it's based you know, in a lot of other factors.
I
Yeah.
agree
You're
with
putting
both.
out the
I agree
energy
with
as though
both
you
of
have the
you.
physique.
I agree with both of you. Okay, I think that they're. I don't like kind of Tuna is sort of implying, not really saying, but he's implying that there used to be a time when people were more Gigachad or more Chad, and now everybody's sort of drifting, or maybe there's a separate culture where people are more Chad, or maybe he's not. Okay, but that I was imagining that like there's this separate like, oh, this Chad's over here, but we're all doing this fake Gigachad thing, but I think that there really is no Chad. And if you were Chad, you wouldn't know it. And
That's
like
the Matrix.
it's really just I think that people are becoming more and more aware of their own insecurities, and people are more and more insecure. I think people are probably more insecure now than they ever have been in any moment of history. So like with the internet and shit, and with streaming and streamers especially, and that's why streamers are so obsessed with this Gigachad Chad shit. So I think it has to do with being aware of your insecurities, and rather than having emotional emotional intelligence to be able to handle your insecurities, you're just you're just being dismissive, you're lashing out, and that's what people are resorting to. I think the way forward is to teach people some emotional skills.
Well, instead
I
of
feel
teach
like-
people, let's say if I was going to avoid being inauthentically Gigachad, like trying to be Gigachad, not doing something that is authentically me, and people are like, oh shit, Gigachad. Like those two things are very different. Like existing your reality is going to be at times soy and at times Gigachad. And giving a fuck about the perception is the problem. Like on both sides, whether it's being Gigachad or being soy, worrying about how, like, being that behavior based on how you're going to be perceived is technically inauthentic.
Yeah, I think there's this idea now. There's internal and external Gigachad. So, like, I think even within this conversation, we're all kind of Gigachad in a way. Like, none of us are really doing this for like a bunch of views. Like, we're all like doing this because I think we all like it internally. Like, we're all driven by something to make us want to have this conversation. But people are like on the outside are going to watch this conversation and be like, wow, what a bunch of soy boy nerds fucking talking about their feelings and shit.
Absolutely.
No,
But in my mind, I'm like, I'm just a
keep
Gigachad.
going,
I don't
keep
fucking
going,
care
no,
about
keep
those
going.
people. Like, fuck them, you know? Really.
Well, yeah, but if
Who
you actually
gives a
didn't
shit
care,
what
you
those
wouldn't
fucking people
you
think?
wouldn't say it if you didn't care.
Listen to what you're saying. Your answer is rooted in how they are going to behave.
Yes. So there's like the way that you feel internally about yourself. And that is something that only the person can know, whether or not they're being a real Gigachad or not. And then there's just the way that the audience is going to perceive the way that you're doing that.
You nailed it. That's what I've been trying to say. It's like identity. Part of it is what you guys see. Part of it is what I feel when I'm doing what I do.
I don't think you can be Gigachad. I don't think you can be soy. I think those are things that are assigned based on the perception of the viewer. You could soy out, or you could like do a Gigachad, but I don't think you can be Gigachad. Like, I don't think you could, you can live your life like the lumberjack that shoots TikToks and does edits. That's not Gigachad.
Why?
Because it's all perception. Gigachad would be like, I don't need to fucking edit this thing. I'm just going to put this thing up. And they're not going to be like, oh, like and subscribe, by the way, for updates. They're just going to be like, this is what I do.
Someone else
This man
films.
just described my YouTube to a T.
Someone else films the Gigachad. The Gigachad doesn't even film themselves.
Doesn't have selfies. Have anybody noticed, like girls, any that are in the audience, all one of you, and it's by self-identity alone. When you're
half of my
through,
chat
like, Tinder,
is okay.
Okay, I was speaking. Okay, you know what I'm saying. Now, I got you in the second half. When you're scrolling through the phone on like Tinder or something, if a guy has too many selfies and not enough pictures taken by somebody else, women are less attracted. That's a clear example of the same thing. There is something about being unbothered, detached. Oh, you know, I take it easy. Oh, I take it as it comes. There's somebody, I have to remember the fucking YouTuber. She's soy in her own right. She made this YouTube video about how she thinks that the big thing that's been learned by Gen Z from millennials is this idea of detachment. Detachment as like this cultural thing is so important as a part of a sexual ritual, but then that also moves on towards our like homosocial relations, where the goal in the antagonistic relationship of early dating is to be the one who cares less.
To
I don't think that
move
this is
through the
accurate.
world, but be independent of the good opinion of others.
But like, I think let's go back to the lumberjack example. Like, let's say you're the lumberjack and you do the editing, right? Whatever. And like, he joins this call. So we're talking to the lumberjack and we're like, lumberjack, it is so soy that you edit your fucking videos and you go cut wood and bullshit and then make montages and put it on TikTok. You're such a soy for doing that. And then he looks at you and he goes, huh, I make millions of dollars, kid.
That's
Fuck
fucking
you know
soy.
about this. I'm gonna go
That's
chop
fucking
wood.
soy.
See you later.
Giga
No,
Chad,
it's not. That's Gigachad. No,
It is
that's so
Gigachad.
Gigachad.
It
He
is
came
so
in here
Gig-
and you said, "You think
Nope.
I'm soy,
Nope.
you little bitch?
Nope.
I'm gonna go chop
Gigachad.
some wood and make money, you
Nope.
asshole, while you sit here
Nope.
and talk to your fucking nerd friends.
Nope.
Bye."
If he was
Gigachad.
if he was
No.
truly
Like,
Chad,
what do you mean?
if he was truly a Chad, not a Gigachad, what he would do is we call him in and we'd be
That
like,
would have been a Chad move.
no, that would
actually.
not have been
That's
a Chad move. The Chad
Yes,
move.
Yeah,
I
Giga Chad
would've-
would have been like, "What is your name, ma'am? Ma'am, what is your name?" That would have been Giga Chad. Giga Chad would have been like, "Who are you, ma'am?"
That's basically what he's doing. But like,
no,
no,
he's
no,
bragging
I'm gonna.
about himself, doing puffery. It's like to prove to you he is something. He doesn't
That's
need
Giga Chad.
to prove. Giga Chad doesn't need to prove he's something.
No, the Giga Chad is the fake one. I'm saying the real Chad with the like actual guy who like actually doesn't care. What he would have come in for if he actually wanted to join this fucking call and talk to us, what he would say is like, really? And he'd be like listening to our feedback and he's like, huh? Well, you know, or he'd just be like, oh, I really don't agree, and they just leave.
Then what would
I
it
think
be
we
if,
could
you-
come
if
up
I
with
called him a
it.
pussy when he came in and said that?
Okay, the point being is that the guy doing the thing on TikTok, I don't think he is.
Hold on, what the fuck is going on?
You wanted to keep the yellow ones?
Yeah.
We can hear you. We can hear you.
He's gonna come back and be, see, I'm such a Gigachad. I didn't even mute.
I hope that they don't say anything.
I got him. I got him. I got him. I muted him. We're good now.
Good call.
But I just think that, like, see, I was having some fun earlier, but in all seriousness, like, being who you are, absent of being swayed by others, and I think with what you said, Will, being somebody that has to give your credentials to embarrass somebody else, I think isn't, to me, Gigachad, because you're trying to prove who you are to do something to somebody else.
It's Gigachad.
Internal or
Tuna,
external
we can hear you now,
Gigachad?
by the way.
Because I think that guy, he would literally just be like, bye bye losers, and he would hang up and he would go do his thing and he'd have a good time in his
He
mansion.
wouldn't have come
Like,
on.
and
the
he's
fucking
thinking
call.
in the hypothetical, right? Like,
Right.
yeah, all the people in the chat would be like, "Oh, haha, soy loser, you had to come on here and justify your blah 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 blah." But he does not give a shit. He's just doing this shit for fun. That is the real Gigachad. Like,
When you guys say the real Gigachad, I thought we already established that there is like the real Gigachad is a poser. Like there is no.
This is what my finger was up for.
Yeah,
Smith.
yeah. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay.
There are two different uses, and both people are like, okay, one. Okay, you currently F-bombs. You're using Gigachad as if meaning like so Chad that you're the Chad of the Chads, but most other people are talking about it from like this, like to act Gigachad is to put on the mask. It's because you're weak and you're putting on airs.
Okay.
Hyper reality of Chadness.
Yeah, there are very few people, and even less so online, that are actually like the gif of the dude that we call Gigachad. That guy didn't even know that he was a fucking GIF. Okay, somebody told him,
Well,
and he had no fucking
exactly.
idea because he doesn't use the internet because he's too busy getting pussy. All right,
It's
there are
not
very
true.
few
It's
people.
not true.
It's
I added
not
the last
true.
part. I added the last part.
Well,
But
it's
there
also
are very
you know,
few people that are that like.
He knew about the images. His girlfriend literally photoshops him to look like that. But keep going.
That's funny.
Oh, I did read that. Well, then I got bad information. All right, fuck it. Anyways, there are very few people that emulate that level of masculinity online, period. So I think the idea is that they are emulating, they are borrowing from the idea of that level of masculinity, which is not caring, being what we would generally, like, in my life, just call cool. 90% of this is being cool. The same words that people have been describing Gigachad as throughout this entire conversation, being cool. Like, I don't give a fuck. I'm just doing my own thing. I give a fuck less. But there's another part is what you're taking that kind of attitude and you're using it against somebody else.
But it's like people think Channing Tatum is cool, but he's just like a vicious drug addict, an alcoholic. You know what I mean? Like, so is he
I was
really
being a
a
vicious drug
Gigachad?
addict and alcoholic, not cool.
All right, so can
Nothing
we
says I don't give a fuck like getting
just-
drunk and beating your wife, am I right?
just for the sake of the conversation and for the audience, and maybe if we're creating or helping creating a dialect here, when we're talking about these words, when we say Gigachad, we're talking about like the performance of being cool. Like not like the like maybe like the Chad is the real one, but we're talking about Gigachad as the performance.
Yes. Gigachad is a persona of Chadness taken on by someone that is usually not a Chad.
Okay. All right.
So-
Okay.
We agree with
The
you
hard-
then.
The hard if we're using that definition, okay, I'll stick with that. It's just tough because to me, there is the perception of Gigachad is what makes it like. I just think you behave and other people decide it's Gigachad or Soy. And so if you're performatively acting to be Gigachad, and that's what we're calling Gigachad, okay. If go ahead.
They're identifying it in others because they wish to embody it. It's an ecosystem, right?
Okay.
So on the receptive end, when you're saying, "Oh, that's Gigachad," what you're really trying to say is like, "Oh, I want to embody that."
Okay. Okay.
Oh, okay, absolutely. Do I need to lock up real quick then?
I can take that. I can make sense with that. That it's not the behavior of the person. It's like the desire of the observer.
Yeah,
makes sense?
they're playing off of the audience in order like if in a different ecosystem, the same person that's being Gigachad would act a totally different way because they're trying to look good and trying to look cool. So
Tuna, I want to just say back to you what I think I heard is you have somebody like Abba and Preach who could be being openly misogynistic, which is likely some sort of putting on an act.
Yeah, of
And
course.
Then somebody views it and says Gigachad because they think that would be cool to be misogynistic like that.
So the way that the ecosystem with something like that works, specifically the like alpha male content, is that they have something that the audience doesn't have, an ineffable quality. So that's why they're being watched. There's something about them. Now the argument, is it money? Is it looks? Is it Riz? Nobody really knows. So what they're doing is they're studying their behavior. They're figuring out what they think is that ineffable thing, and they're calling it Gigachad. And then later they perform it. They're trying to fake it till they make it, of sorts, right? That's the point.
Okay, so using Gigachad as like the performative from an evolution of some sort of wanting to be more or insecurity.
Yeah, it's just, you know, modeling. It's modeling. You're looking for people and you're trying to figure out those things, and you're like, what can I do? It's kind of like how kids do when they're like embodying wrestlers. Remember, like that was all about being Gigachad too. And it's also why Gold Dust, no one was calling Gold Dust Gigachad, but if you look back, you could claim that Gold Dust was the most Gigachad because he was, like I said before, part of that like unapologetically, like I guess he was like an unapologetic gay rapist. That was sort of what Gold Dust was. And it's just like, but oh, he's gay, but he's so gay that it's Gigachad. It's like it's what made him subversive.
You know, if with this framework, if we can actually use this, we can actually dismantle the whole fucking it's different with women, because we're framing everything within like a male context, and I think the streaming space and everything is kind of really dominated by men, and we're all thinking about the term Chad. We're talking about men. But if you think about a movie like Mean Girls, you can think about Gigachatting in a totally different context. The performative coolness to meet the expectations of what people think is cool. So like what a mean girl might do that's Gigachat is be like, oh my God, I love your shoes. And then you turn around and look at your friend. And like she's just saying that she's actually insulting you or whatever. Like that's a totally different performance of coolness from the masculine performance.
Yeah, being a bitch.
Sure, but in the Mean Girls circle, it's Giga Stacy in the Mean Girls circle. Many
women, and it's really popular, especially with like your like sort of Tumblr feminista kind of thing, which has moved on to Instagram as of recently. Proud to be a bitch. That's the point. That's the Gigachad of females. Yeah, I'm a bitch. I'm that bitch. It's one of the fucking things going on with all of that Beyonce shit too. Yeah. I do own slave labor. Oh yeah, I do have a sweatshop. Fucking John Cena.
The use of the word "that" in front of it, like that N-word, that bitch, like that, whatever. Like to say you're the that, it means you're the one that's separate from the rest. I'm actually that bitch. You know what I mean? I'm the real bitch. You know? Yeah.
I'm the bitch everybody wants to be.
Yeah.
That's what it. Yeah, exactly. Biggest pussy in the room. Fucking loudest clapping lips in the whole goddamn dance floor. When the beat drops, they still hear my ass claps.
The funny thing is this just will always keep going in a circle, especially because if it is a binary, all the definitions we gave for Gigachad work for Soy and vice versa. Like, the performative side is Soy, knowing that you're taking a stance that is going to be yelled at isn't necessarily Gigachad. It's not necessarily Soy. Like, if you're like, yay, Hitler was good, that's not Gigachad. But like,
it could be depending on the if you do that if you do that on Cozy TV, that it might be Gigachad. Or honestly, if you do that even like on Twitter.
But no. I'm going
Kanye.
back to the definition
Kanye
I was
doing
just given.
Kanye.
The definition I was just given, which is it's performative.
Right.
That
it's performative.
Performatively saying that Hitler is good isn't Gigachad in reality. It's like
there's no reality. We're talking in the context of like what people think. So like within a certain social group, like it's going to work different. That's why I said like within like the Mean Girls social group, like it's just whatever is the coolness within wherever you are.
It's cyclical. Like the viewer is going to determine it.
There's a way out.
Okay.
There's a way out of samsara. It's called enlightenment, an actual detachment. We've already, this is the ascetic, there is an ascetic way out of this, because this is all just neurotic desire.
So self-actualization. Self-actualization.
Well, yeah, if you want to be Western about it.
Sorry. I'm old. That's all I know is higher than Maslow. That's all I know. I'm old.
Colonizer.
I'm fucking old. What do you want from me?
I'm so glad. When you said self-actualization, I was like, thank God you turned it away from the whatever bullshit he was saying. You made it something I can actually.
Well, that's what. There's an old quote I heard from Wayne Dyer, who was quoting somebody else, which was learning how to be independent of the good opinion of others and doing what drives you to do what you do. That's the only way out of it all. If not, you're just going to be stuck in what you just said. Like, you're just going to be in this endless perception wheel instead of independent.
Counterpoint. What if all you are is a sniveling rat? What if all you are is a tit-suckling child? Because that's what's happening to a lot of people.
But then that's what you are, but only if you accept it. And most people that are tit-suckling rats aren't going to be actualized.
Well,
They're controllable.
well, here's the thing. I think that in the act of...
Is Drazi still here? Where'd he go?
Yeah, he's lifting weights, see?
Sorry.
The act of it be accepting your tit-suckling rat status almost like elevates you above tit-suckling rat, like in a way, like you're growing in that.
That's awareness.
Yeah, as soon as you're aware,
self-awareness before
like
self-actualization.
I'm thinking, I'm literally imagining a guy with I'm imagining like a fat Discord mod guy, you know, and he's like rubbing up, like he's got like a giant baby bottle and he's like got a diaper on, and he's humping it, and he's got like a rat nose on. But like that guy, he's like, I'm a fucking tit sucking rat, and he's loving it. But like in embracing it, he's like, honestly, like he's reached nirvana. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah,
he's self-actualized. You know, so
independent of the good opinion. Yes, that makes so much sense. He's just like, okay. All right.
Okay, somebody get Brittany Simon in here, because I'm telling you right now, we've been talking about the levels for the last 5 minutes, right?
Oh god.
That's the person that becomes aware of becoming a tit suckling rat. That's a 3, and then you have to choose: are you going to move towards enlightenment, or are you going to become Gigachad, which is a 2?
Well,
that's why she's a 2. Yada yada.
It's Maslow's hierarchy of needs, like not.
It was the whole time.
Not hers.
Well, hold on. Do I need to remind you that you well, let's not go into it, that you are taking the work of a woman away from her and giving credit to a man just because he came up with the idea first?
Is Chud Logic a Chad or a Gigachad?
That would be Soy. That would be Soy. I'm not doing that. I'm not gonna give my I'm not. This isn't high school.
Of course,
I can't sit here and
of course he's a Gigachad. He's a performer, and he knows it, and he says all the time it's about the content, and I don't think he would even disagree. Like,
yep.
I don't think that like that's his thing, is being the Gigachad. But the only thing that's insulting about that is the fact that his thesis was the Gigachad thing. So I want to know like where his thoughts are on the Gigachad thesis, because he was the one who kind of started that conversation.
Well, but
is Mr. Girl Chad Gigachad or Soy?
If Chud is open and honest about saying this is about entertainment and it's a show, then that's not performative Gigachatting. It's like just authentically entertaining.
No, like, that's in the moment while you're doing the thing, though. You don't.
It's performative.
It is a performance while you're doing it, and then when you pull back the curtain and you do the interview, then you're, admitting to the thing. That's its own thing. But like while you're doing it, you're not going. He's not saying, guys, before I say the N-word, just remember I'm doing this because it's a good bit of fun. Like that's what he says afterwards. It's a totally separate thing. Also,
just memeing.
Mr. Girl is Soy right now. Mr. Girl is Soy right now because of the report. The report was like appealing towards like, oh, this man has done this, and this, and saying this person's morally unrighteous. Now you could say that it was a brave thing to do, but at the same time, it was itself like
there is nothing more Soy than complaining.
It became personal, not productive.
Yeah. But when people come at you and they're like, they're trying to give you advice for fucking 4 months or 6 months on something, and you literally take every single piece of advice that you're given and you throw it in the fucking trash and you just make the thing that you want to make. Is that not Gigachad? Or Chad, excuse me?
Kinda.
Or it could be sour grapes at the same time.
Let me agree with part of you guys and disagree with part of you guys. Putting out the article, I'm pretty Gigachad. Every interview, maybe save for Will's, that he had since then, is the soyest shit I've ever seen in my entire fucking life.
Yeah,
no, putting out the article absolutely is Soy. It's not a performative thing. It's like his genuine complaining.
The contents is soy, but the act of doing it anyways, bombing your fucking career, telling half of your fan base they can get fucked.
No, I disagree. I think he got pot committed and didn't know what to do. He couldn't walk away. How do you just?
Well,
said,
the way I
he
framed
is-
it, it's pretty fucking Gigachad.
Yes, if that was the reality, but I think there was a point where he probably could have realized this is a bad idea and moved on, which would have been wise.
Yeah, definitely.
This is the guy who said he didn't want to comment on how like Chud's internal processes are.
But I did. But I fucking did. But I did anyway.
Guys, was it Soy or Gigachad when Jesus sacrificed himself for our sins?
Jesus was caught.
Soy.
That's all.
Or was he? Or
Soy as fuck. He just did what his dad said.
This is number. You know what?
Real Chad would have stayed dead.
A real Chad would have karate chopped those fucking freaks in the head when they tried to fucking put the nails in his hand.
You don't think it's Soy to be like, come on, Dad, please let me back. Please, come on.
You know,
Forgive them, they know
Jesus,
not what they do.
Dying for all of our sins so that we could still like drink and fuck bitches and still go to heaven is pretty based.
That sounds
so
pretty
it's pretty
SJW,
Gigachad.
actually. If you
The
think
based
about
cringe thing is a whole separate conversation. Don't open that.
Oh yeah, that
can of worms.
honestly is a real fucking different. Yeah,
He was
that's
just
Tune
trying
into the
Slut
next exciting
shaming?
episode of what the fuck are they talking
Yikes.
about?
my computer
Cringe.
sound.
Yikes.
Cringe versus beta. Take all of the different diminutives against one another. That's the final bracket.
Fucking funny. A tier list.
There's just all
All
these
right.
different frameworks from which you can dismiss someone. You can say they're cringe. You can say that they're soy. Yeah.
You can call
Can we
them.
run through some other content creators and ask if they're how they fall on the spectrum? Like, how do we think about Destiny?
Oh,
See
he
Chad,
falls on the
Gigachad,
spectrum. He
Soy.
falls on the spectrum.
He falls on a lot of
What?
spectrums.
There you go. That was quick. I was still trying to formulate that one out.
Oh,
Because you're on the same spectrum.
I think no, he's
What about
definitely.
Wick?
Spectrum.
Is he a Chad?
spectrum wireless.
Is he Soy?
say
What
what?
do we think? What about Wick? Is he Soy, Chad, Gigachad?
I'm gonna soy Wick. When he was saying, "Don't really tell me what to do. Look at my numbers." That's what I mean. When you have to defend yourself by giving your credentials or whatever, I think you've fallen into the trap. But if you just do what you want to do, and you're like, "Yeah, you feel that way. Okay, thanks."
I think-
centrism is inherently soy, and like coming from a person that is relatively moderate himself, like that is the point of it, is to be like unabashedly soy. Keep going.
I think
Yeah,
it's really hard if we're talking about streamers because, like I was saying before, I think that every streamer falls on the Gigachad spectrum by virtue of streaming itself.
I do
I was
think
gonna
it
say
takes.
Wick depends on the day.
Well, no, I don't think so. Like when you, Drazi, when you don't feel like it, you still make a choice, which takes like you're not controlled by. I owe it to them to stream, right?
Correct.
No, he streams when I tell him to stream.
How about President Sunday? Chad, Soy, Gigachad.
Gigasoy. A person who's like in action of being Gigachad is through leaning really deeply into soyness.
I actually don't feel comfortable commenting on the Chad or soyness of mentally handicapped people, so I'm gonna refrain
Okay,
from.
hold on.
Yeah, you did all the other ones. That's
Okay,
why.
hold on.
Why? Because he's gay?
Yeah,
President-
but he's mentally handicapped in the kind of way.
No, he's
like pat him on the head way.
he's not stupid.
Yeah.
Like he's very different. He has a very different mind than most people, obviously, but he's not a stupid guy.
One could claim a beautiful mind.
Yeah.
How about
Look, the man said when he was a kid he collected books because they were symmetrical, not because he liked to read them. Okay, that's all I gotta fucking say about that.
I got two more.
Okay,
Ben
go
Shapiro,
ahead.
Gigachad, or Soy.
Soy.
Ben Shapiro, Soy.
I think
Soy.
Ben Shapiro.
I
I
can
don't
explain,
know.
but go ahead. I'd rather go last.
Is punching a little kid in the face Gigachad?
Do you
No, that's
deserve
just
it?
That's just Chad.
Okay. Well, then he's Chad.
It's a thing that somebody from the nation of Chad would do. I think that Ben Shapiro grifters operate on
Is
a
that
different.
racist?
Is Ben Shapiro racist? Yes, absolutely. I'm choosing to understand your question that way. No, Ben Shapiro. When you have that much money, when it's that much money, you really have to. And you kind of leaned into this earlier, F-bombs. When it's like there is a thing where are you doing it for the attention or are you doing it for the cash? Because the cash converts to everything you've ever wanted in your entire life. If I was Ben Shapiro, I would be going harder than him. I'd be more racist. I'd be more sexist.
That's why he's not Gigachad. He's just Chad. Because he hires Matt Walsh and Knowles and other people to do the work he can't do himself because he has to keep his image cleaner.
Well, it's because he's been slowly but surely. So actually, if you don't already know this, Ben Shapiro spent the last 15 years creating a back catalog of every potential political thing that would happen. And over those 15 years, he's been taking estrogen and he's been pretending to be that other woman version of him. That's actually live streamed. That's live streamed. Everything that you think is Ben Shapiro is actually recording from the last 15 years back catalog.
Why wouldn't they just AI it?
Why wouldn't they just say, well, they don't have that technology. The Jews
not
keep
with the money they just gave away. No,
what about
my bad.
Last one? J.K. Rowling, Soy, Gigachad, Chad.
I hate these. It's so hard for me.
I really don't have enough knowledge to have an opinion on her.
I'm still finishing. And I
mean, we have enough knowledge to I understand what he's asking through the lens of.
Yeah, but like
he's saying is all the things that people call her transphobic for. If her putting herself out there and saying all that shit and taking all that shit and not backing down and still doing that.
I mean,
is that Gigachad or is it Soy?
Is
she conceding to her fucking transphobic feelings, or is she standing up against what she perceives to be
okay? Shut up!
Masses?
I got it. No, I'm just kidding.
No, tell me.
Okay, shut up.
If she's out there Sim Citying Turf Island, that's probably Gigachad.
She has enough money, I think, that we can't really say that it's necessarily Soy or Gigachad. I think that it breaks the paradigm. When we talk about these really, really rich people, like that's just actual Chad, not Gigachad. Like she can do whatever the fuck she wants. Right.
Sure, but but that may be true. But like, just I want to say something and just ignore that and then talk about that next. Okay, so like, just forget about that. And okay, she's a good example of how it's really hard to know, especially when we're talking about people from like very different spheres of like the internet with different different audiences, because the way we would be able to know if she's being Soy or Gigachad is if she's being Gigachad, it means that the core people around her that she wants to impress all really like the shit that she has to say. So if those are the people that she cares about, if she cares about the TERFs and like those are the people she respects, then she's being Gigachad maybe. But like so if she's being Soy if like she's like saying it in the face of the people she respects. So if the people she respects are like the trans activists or something, and she's saying, look, I just don't think that a trans person is a trans woman is a woman, then she's being Soy by complaining to them. But if she's taking the stance because she wants to be performatively cool for the TERFs, then she's being a Gigachad.
She seems to be leaning into it in the way that a Gigachad would. Like she's not being very like emotional and talking about her feelings while she does it. I think that's an easy like distinguish it, right? She's talking about it from the idea of like women deserve these spaces. She's not even doing that one actually. That's the people around her. Above all things, she's just like making matter-of-fact statements. I think that we could if we have to make a choice, it's going to be Gigachad. Based on that paradigm, if we're talking, who's she appealing to? She's just appealing to the raw aesthetic. That being said, why is she doing it?
Drazi?
Who do we think is the most Gigachad?
Wait, Drazi, what did you say?
I didn't say anything.
Yeah, J.K. Rowling.
I just said
Give your
it's
answer,
kind of
motherfucker.
it's kind of tough to say because it's super hard to say. I was kind of with Tuna when he said it kind of breaks the paradigm because there's a lot to be gained and there's a lot to be lost there. It's super fucking hard to say, but there's no way that this fucking woman hasn't lost an insane amount of money and she kept saying what she was saying no matter what. Because like she's been like removed from her own fucking franchise as a fucking safeguard from her. So I would have to say probably leans towards Gigachad, but it's a much more complicated kind of situation here.
That was for making Hermione black, actually. Jokes aside. And I'm the one that removed her. So I think that we can think of it as like a game of it's kind of like when rich people start fucking hunting endangered animals. I think that life is so boring once you've made it that you need to start playing with the most dangerous game, and you find an opportunity for it. So like what's that stupid movie? Uncut Gems. Was he being Soy? Was he being Gigachad when he's like, you know?
I haven't watched it. I'm gonna mute.
Okay, whatever.
Okay.
Was Smeth being Soy or No.
Just fucking say it. Just fucking say it. Just fucking say it.
Okay, it's about a person who's fucking addicted to gambling. But why are people addicted to gambling? They're addicted to the rush because their life doesn't give them any fucking excitement anymore. I think that most rich people doing crazy fucking shit are just playing big game. That's all I think it really is for them. And I don't think that fits into the Stacy, that doesn't fit into the Chad, that doesn't fit into the Soy or the Beta or the Gay. I think it's really, really just like they're in a different world than us.
Yeah, but to me, it matters what game they're playing. So, like, I think that performativity is just the central thing of what makes it a Gigachad. And if the game you're playing is a game of public perception or PR or you're trying to say something or elicit a response, then that is Gigachad. But it would be Soy if she so if the game she's playing is she wants to elicit a certain reaction from people, that is Gigachad. And if the game she's playing is she wants to spread a particular message, then that's Soy. But she is very performativity. She's very fucking performative in way she's being Soy, if she's being Soy.
Yeah, I think that it's neither. I know that sounds like hard to believe, but I really think that it's just like it's a little game of pretend for her. I don't think that she actually cares about it fully or that she's doing it to be cool fully. I think it's just like once you're in the game and you're getting these interviews, you can put on the artifice, put on the mask either way. Now, that might be because I just find it really hard to believe that anybody cares that much when they have that much money. Because I have been poor my whole life. I think to myself, if I had that kind of money, I would go to a fucking island. And that just might not be true.
Money doesn't solve self-confidence and like self-love. It will never solve it. So people that are broken without money are broken with money.
But if she doesn't care, then for my perception or my definition, then that means she is by default Gigachad.
Yeah, you know what? Yeah, because it's about being unbothered. But she's bothered. It is a conundrum. I won't deny that.
I mean, they do complain about the way they're treated.
But the Overton window is that, if you say, I love trans people, that's the Soy thing, right? So she's being like Gigachad in the other direction. Because it's harder to say the opposite opinion.
Maybe not in her niche. England is different than here. Now, the internet, everybody's American because of the internet. You're right. Because you're dealing with American opinions all the time.
Twitter, universal.
Damn, I just had a horrifying horror thought, realizing how many of the people that are tweeting that I see on Twitter are actually British people and I didn't even know it.
Yeah, dude.
That's horrifying.
That is terrifying. I don't understand.
No. I mean, sometimes you'll be having a conversation with somebody and it turns out that they eat pig's blood for breakfast. That's fucking scary. That's a vampire.
Yeah.
Sounds like drinking the blood of Christ once
Like
a week. But
you
whatever.
were reading their messages this whole time, their posts, but like you should have been reading it like this, mate, or whatever.
That is true. We definitely make assumptions of who we're talking to.
No, I whitewash every fucking tweet that I read, even if I know. There's no way. I don't do fucking Asian accents if I read a tweet from an Asian woman. Like, so I'm not gonna do a British accent if I fucking read a Chud Logic's tweet.
Pussy.
I'm not gonna do a British accent in my head.
You'll do the British, but you won't do the Asian.
Do you know? No, I said I won't. But you know when I will do it? If the word "in it." If he says "in it," all right, you get the accent.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
I just whenever I see "in it," I just hear Carl Pilkington's voice.
Yes, 100%.
God, I miss Carl Pilkington being like an innocent idiot. That was an era of fun.
If
Remember
you
when you
read
just
in your
speak
accent,
stupid?
you need broken English.
But he was also like, he wasn't like just like a lolcat. Like he was wholesome, and everybody like loved him because of it. And yeah,
He was the closest we got to returning to like fucking what's the name of the guy who lived inside of a trash can? The homeless guy who pissed on a rich guy because everything in his house was too nice. It's not Dionysus.
Oscar the Grouch.
I thought
what I
we were
was
going to leave
thinking.
my post-streaming life out of this.
Well, that was the character Tuna played that one week.
That's true.
you've lost the plot, mate.
Pockets, aren't I?
Yeah, I have to change it. Or you have.
Well,
you
hold
can
on
change it.
here. Before you do that, let me turn off my camera really quick, just really good. Yeah,
Did
I still
something-
got the vaccine needle as my fucking fucking nothing more. Hey, is being anti-vax soy or Gigachad? Discuss.
It depends on your intentions, because like I was saying before, it's like if you're trying to look like you don't care and you're just being performative, like maybe you actually don't care, but even if you don't care, the performativity of not caring is different, because someone who doesn't care about the vaccines just doesn't care, and they're probably not talking about it. But like someone who's like anti-vaxxer, they're performing it. They're like, no, you don't understand. You don't understand about these vaccines. It's just you're just a moron. We should like your mask. You're stupid sheeple. Like I know it. They're performing it. I like maybe like they actually really like. There's people who are extremely conspiracy brain. They actually believe that like we really need to tell everybody because everybody's being brainwashed right now, and we need to.
Well, then that's soy.
That's yeah. That is soy. But I think most of the anti-vax people are just being very performative. Like it's. Like, I don't think they actually believe the whole conspiracy thing.
I think there's
There's some pretty fucking stupid people out there.
I'm going to be real about it. There's a lot of pro-vax performative too. Like,
yes.
Yeah.
Yes, for sure. But that's what I was saying. I was saying how one side of it could be either or, and the same thing applies to the other side.
I got cut off in traffic by a bitch that was driving her car with a mask on alone. And I was like, I know why you cut me off. Because you think that your fucking farts don't smell because they've been filtered through that mask for the last 3 fucking years. You think you can just be a fucking prick because inside of yourself you think I'm doing something that's, let me put the straps on my ear. Go fucking crash.
Meanwhile, her near dead grandma was laying down in the back seat and she's on her way to the hospital.
Oh my god! It took me till just now to realize you meant like a M95 mask. I pictured her like driving by herself in a Halloween mask, like a Guy Fawkes mask or something. That makes so much more sense. Yeah.
I was in Boston. I went into some like restaurant with some friends, and in the restaurant, like this was like a couple months ago or something, when there was still like Boston's one of the areas where like you're gonna have the most like like militant maskies, and
maskies.
And so like nobody like in the restaurant told us to put masks on or anything, and so we're like, all right, we won't. And some guy was like, hey, put your mask on, and I was like, oh, nobody told me to. He's like, oh, I told you to. I was like, fuck you.
He got you there. He fucking got you, dude.
God damn, dude.
It's really funny about Boston too, because I think Boston's also the most likely place for you to be called the F slur for just like walking weird. I can imagine someone put the mask on, you fucking floof. What?
Yeah. I'm glad you didn't see it.
I know. I had to come up with something on
Yeah.
the fly. I also put on the wrong accent.
Massachusetts is like the rich parts of Massachusetts are very very fucking
Cool.
lib cuck like extremist MSNBC brain. Like they have a IV of MSNBC into their like fucking eye socket.
You can say what you really mean. F-bombs. Mute your put your ear mics on.
Earmuffs.
Put on your earmuffs. Say what you really want to say.
I know who owns it. I get it.
Who owns
Do we
what?
need to move to? Do we need to move this stream to Kick? Is that what we have to do?
Wait,
Look,
I don't know what you're
take
implying I'm
pride.
saying, but I said what I meant because I was being soy, okay?
Look, I will explain very easily what Tuna meant. What Tuna meant was, while only making up roughly 1% of the American population, we still managed to somehow control Hollywood and the banking system. And what amazes me is the pacification of the 99% white Republican Federal Party of the 1% Jewish population, in which we dominate all media and also the money.
If you didn't already know, Smith,
got him
a
good minute, boys.
lot of people
Stop! I don't care. I don't care right now.
Okay, whatever.
I'll care later, but I don't want to care on my stream. I don't want to spread stuff that's gonna make people anti-Semitic on my stream right now.
No, that's not the fucking point.
Okay.
People left Massachusetts because Jews moved there. That's the actual fucking history. But if you don't care.
Oh,
Well,
I do care. Okay, I'm just concerned. I'm being soy. I was concerned. I was being soy.
Look, in a real lesson,
It's okay.
In a real lesson, the way to respond to the JQ is what I did,
With
not
the JA.
not to like defend like, well, they went to Hollywood because of the historical position, because they don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
What you need to do is take away what they're using, which is to say, so what you're saying is 1% of the population dominates you and you're supposed to be the master race? That's kind of weird.
Well, I genuinely I emotionally agree, and I've had this conversation before, and I just feel like most Jewish people don't do that. They'll do they don't
soy.
they're doing the soy thing, and they're like not only the soy thing, but like say TunaChip's like is generally anti-Semitic, then like
let's say
like the soy thing for the typical Jewish response that you normally hear is to like just like silence them, which is what I was trying to do, and stop the conversation because they believe that it being talked about at all is damaging, and like they're not making room for his concerns. And if you're actually anti-Semitic, you believe in a conspiracy, someone silencing you just makes you feel it even more. And like that, so like I feel like whatever you did is just probably, even if you're being like aggressive or toxic masculinity or whatever in some capacity, like it's just so much better because you're just making room for the other person's emotions in the conversation.
I don't.
Okay, so I used to work at a party rental place that was ran exclusively by Jewish people.
Obviously, it's a business.
What can I say? And San Diego has an incredibly large Jewish population, and a lot of the Jewish people that I've come into contact with kind of like lean into the whole, like, you make jokes about their shit and they'll be like, oh yeah, it's like the Jew magic that did this and shit like that. As like a joke, as in they're leaning in on it. Is that Gigachad, or is that like, is there a fear there that like if they don't make a joke out of it, that if they're soy, is that a
what
negativity?
Do you mean by I'm curious to hear what you mean by survival.
It's a way to get along with everybody, like, because you can't just be like there's no way you can get away with cohesively being like, hey, you shouldn't say stuff like that. That really bothers me. You can't say shit like that.
Everybody's been seeing the blue square ad, right? Do you guys know about the like Stop Anti-Semitic Hate ad that's been going on? The video is that a dad. Okay, there's a short thing where a dad drives his son to a synagogue, and he like parks the car and he says, "I've seen what you've been saying online. Hitler was right. What the fuck, kid? Well, how about you say it to their face?" And he pulls up in front of a synagogue, and the kid just like sits there. And I spent the entire time, I'm like, I feel like the kid would. I feel like the kid would get out of the car and just do it. And then the dad's an asshole. But he's like trying to call him on his thing. And it's very emotional. It's very serious. And it's one of those things where it's like a lot of people are ripping it up online for being too soy. So yeah, Jews have learned to be Gigachad, of course.
I think that sounds a lot like the way we used to treat all the Dare commercials.
Yeah.
Like, they're just, you can't appeal to the softness of somebody acting in disdain, anger, or hate. Like, it's a nonsensical point. You can dislodge. Go ahead.
I do think I think that Jews, if they're confronted with this, and I'm not fucking Jewish, but I think you should do is I think you should appeal to the softness, but that doesn't fall into either category. Appealing to the softness, I think, is more like the genuine thing to do, because the appealing to the softness, you can't convince somebody that's a conspiratorial thinker that they're wrong. The only thing you can do is engage with them like a human so that they see one Jew that isn't the way they expected it to be, and that's the best you can do. And that's what I think should happen.
Let me. Can I give you my take? May I?
To be a model Jew.
May I? Okay.
Yes.
I think most of us people in the tribe and in probably other minorities, we've grown adept to very quickly making a decision of where we're going to stand in a conversation. If somebody is having a conversation, I think you can have a conversation and it's beneficial. Trying to have a conversation with somebody inauthentically having a conversation is very harmful. Like, it's worse to play defense to somebody on the right, especially in front of an audience, than it is to attack the very essence of the argument. And the very example I use is, you're saying you're controlled by 1%, but you're the master race. Help me understand. What I'm doing is, one, insulting and derooting this belief as, like, the only potential I have at that point is to deroot it. And then I've asked a question, so I'm waiting for a response. So explain to me how this 1% isn't the master race if they're controlling you. Help me. And now I'm not leaving until they explain it. They can say, what about this? Yeah, what about that? Now tell me how you're being controlled by 1%. And making them face the thing that they don't understand is the way to begin to make that news seed become something.
Well, even in that, though, you're engaging with them in a way where you're asking them to be part of the conversation too. So even that
sounds
cool.
pretty soy.
It's necessary. You need to make people. You can't dunk on them and then move on.
Right.
If
That's
you're
what
gonna
that
dunk
I don't.
on somebody. You need to make it the conversation.
There is, I think the thing that you're pointing out is that that you guys are coming to agreement on is that it is Gigachad to put the onus on somebody else to answer to the thing. Because yeah, if the onus is always on you, you're always in that position of weakness. You look soy. So that's the game. Because yeah, when you make an anti-Semite, when you say to them like, oh, okay, if Jews are such a low population and there's something, and they're not like and you think that superior races should be in power, then explain that distinction. Then they have to say, oh, well, they've been using like their position to manipulate the minds and make white people hate themselves. And then you just have to be like, okay, why are white people so weak of mind that they come to hate themselves? You keep putting the onus on them.
Yes, it's the same. I think it's the same strategy with everything. So you want to elect Trump because the election was stolen, but he was in charge of securing the election. So as the president, he oversees the election. He was incapable of securing it, and you want to put him back in charge of elections? How does that make sense to you?
I think
now they have to answer it.
Well, that's a fake question because you're saying you're really. I don't know. Like you're just telling that you're saying something in question form.
True.
Like this is it is. But I have my ideal scenario. Like I'm trying to think of it because I'm not Jewish, so I'm trying to think of one that makes more sense for me.
There was. Did you see the commercials, Smeth? Or not commercials? There was like TikTok-y type YouTube videos where this chick would walk past construction workers and they'd be like, "Hey, baby, want to fuck?" And she'd turn around and like get right in her face. She's like, "Yeah, let's do it right now." And they'd be like, And somebody's like, "Marry me." She's like, "Okay, let's get married." And then she just like grabs his arm, and the dude doesn't know what the fuck to do. That's making people deal with their shit. And I think that's pretty Giga chatty.
I've seen that kind of commercial. I don't know if I'm seeing the one you're talking about, but I've seen things exactly like that. And when I remember being like a teenager and seeing that shit and being like, that would make me so horny. I don't understand.
Okay.
It wouldn't work on teenagers. If she did that to a 16-year-old and she's like, "Yeah, let's do it right now," he'd drop his fucking pants in the middle of the road, all right, and be rock fucking hard. They work because they're construction workers who have a modicum of shame, who are playing up their doggedness for the other guys that they're working with.
Don't let Smeth say that without pointing out the fact that he does have an emasculation fetish and that he is turned on by the idea of being.
No, it's actually not an emasculation fetish. It's just that it's a non-masculation fetish. It's
sure.
And on the note, I gotta go, you guys. I know we were good for 2 hours. My wife's home, and I did tell her that I would do stuff for her when she got home.
Ooh.
This is fun.
Is that why the shirt was off the whole time?
The shirt was off because I don't give a fuck. All right.
I don't give a fuck. Drazi, it was awesome. It was great having you. Enjoying your family time.
Yeah.
Thanks, you too. Stay easy, guys.
See ya.
All right.
Okay, who's the porn star that he looks like now that he's gone?
Rachel
Don't
Dolezal.
Ron Jeremy him.
Rachel Dolezal.
That's fucking hilarious. I mean, there is a Ron Jeremy resemblance.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, you could always just say Soy Ron Jeremy or something, right? But
that dude is a fucking disgusting pig. Like, I know people that have known him, and he is a certified top degen.
Who would have guessed?
So, would you consider Ron Jeremy to be Gigachad or Soy?
Damn it.
I would say
you didn't. Any of the
I would say that
Gigachad-
in most contexts,
No, I did.
hold
on. I'll give it to you. Go ahead.
In most contexts, defending Ron Jeremy would probably be Gigachad.
Yeah.
The bitch that wrote the books. I said Gigachad if she's out there, just building Turf Island, even though other people are mad. With Destiny, I don't think I did give an answer. I've got to say Gigachad, just because of the way so many people have come at him, and he's just like, I know they're gonna come. I'm gonna deal with it. It's gonna be what it is. Like, as long as I'm not canceled, I don't have to do what I did with the fucking DDoS kid.
I'm not talking about Destiny in general because that's too broad. I'm talking about specifically his
reaction to the
relationships. The fact that he's okay with open relationships.
Oh.
People on the left call it Gigachad. Liberals call it Gigachad. It's like, oh yeah, he doesn't give a shit who Melina fucks. And then people on the right are like, actually, that's really soy for you to not care, because you're probably pretending to not care. Like, that's the big thing.
I mean, well, that is the thing. Is if he really just doesn't care and it's not an act, it's Gigachad. If he's like, I don't care, well, that's pretty fucking soy.
Now, modification, knowing supposedly, I don't know if this is true, the allegations that he was going to become monogamous for Lauren Southern, does that give us the information to know that he actually probably was pretending to not be bothered? And that means that it was Soy the whole time.
No. And
No,
the
no.
reason why no is Melina and him may have been okay with a non-monogamous relationship. So he might not really give a fuck, monogamous or not. Like he may be in an existence where it's like, if it's only one, it's one. If it's a bunch, it's a bunch. I don't really care.
I gotta tell you, oh, sorry.
The other side may have a determining factor that doesn't want that. And so therefore to like
I want Smeth's opinion.
cohesive, I could see it. Go ahead.
I want to hear Smeth's opinion now.
No. Okay, I think it's a dumb question. I hate it because no matter what, it's either is he a Gigachad or is he neutral? Because he cannot be Soy if he doesn't care. Because the question we're asking is, does he act like he doesn't care because he actually cares, or does he actually not care? To be Soy is to care, so he's automatically not being Soy. Is he being Gigachad or is he being a Chad? Is the question. Because he doesn't care.
Is it performative or is it not?
He doesn't act like he cares. So is it performative or is it not performative? Is it genuine or is it not? And is he a genuine Chad or is he a Giga Chad?
So I think because Melina gets really mad when Destiny sleeps with other people, Destiny is always in a position of power that makes it so that we can never actually know whether deep down he is the type of person that, if she wasn't that way, would be Soy in that moment. But in the current situation, yeah, power is in his lap because she's the person that cares more, right? She always cares more because she cares a lot. He doesn't care. Used to detachment.
Has he shown any vulnerabilities about it? Like, has he ever been like, here's a time where it bothered me?
I don't think so.
I don't know enough about it. I just mostly know that it's like a recent thing because the Lauren Southern fucking like log leaks.
I do think it's an interesting conundrum to be like, is he quitting for her?
Actually, in the Destiny Report article, there's a good example of that. The Bob Seven story, where someone tried to steal her basically from him, or that's how it was like basically like that's what it seemed like, and his response was to destroy them. So I think he did care in that instance.
But it's interesting. Does he care about control, or does he care about, like, would this happen? Is this unique to Melina, or is this an innate quality? Like, this is the thing that I was kind of asking, which is coming to the heart of it. Are people Giga Chad? Are people Soy? Or is it the texture of a relationship between two different people? Someone is always the Soy one and someone is the Giga Chad one. Because that's what I think might be what's happening. You think it's both, or what?
I think that stuff rotates like always. Like somebody becomes the one who needs help and somebody becomes the person that fills that gap. And eventually the person filling that gap starts to feel unappreciated, and then they need to be taken care of, or things go out of control. You know, that's the thing about a relationship. It's always like rolling over that way. You go through the 4 cycles constantly.
Hold on, I'm confused because I don't see a Giga Chad as a caretaker. I see them as like the opposite of a like so if you're being Soy and then someone's receptive to it, that's a totally different thing. But if you're being Soy, like the relationship between a Soy and a Giga Chad is you come in Soy and the Giga Chad tells you you're a moron and tells you to get the fuck out.
Yeah, it's the stereotypical relationship of a what is it called? Anxious, like an anxious attachment versus a dismissive attachment. That's the Giga Chad Soy. Versus like what you're talking about is a healthy dynamic. A healthy dynamic works that way. But an unhealthy dynamic is all about push and pull. No one ever gets exactly what they want. Everybody's distant.
Right, that's where the question should be: if Destiny's the healthy side or if he's the Giga Chad side. But I don't think he could be the Soy side.
So somebody said that she's corrected him or spoken out about his behavior. Is that correct?
Yeah, there's like she streams and like makes critique of Destiny and his relationship dynamics before. Yeah.
Okay, so let's boil it down to like say Anna, right? So a lot of people, including I think Melina, thought it was nuts to have been sexting with Anna. Is that a fair assessment of Melina's position?
I can't speak of it now.
I can't speak about it. I don't know.
Fucking pussies. I'm
not sure. I'm not sure.
I just
haven't. I don't watch
I was
her.
giga chatting you. Okay. Somebody said
There's
no.
a lot of psychoanalyzation going on here.
Well, because it does matter. That's the thing. Is
we don't have to talk about the specific cases. I don't care about the truth of the people.
Okay.
I'm talking about them because this is what I was talking about. We're trying to learn Gigachadism from observing the things that are being demonstrated. That is what a lot of male content creators, why people watch them and emulate them. And people do emulate Destiny. So when we're looking at the way that Destiny presents his relationship, not the truth of it, I don't care what's happening behind closed bars. The question is, when people emulate that relationship dynamic, are they accidentally committing towards the Gigachad detachment that makes them enter in these unhealthy relationship dynamics? That's the underlying question.
I think
that's
probably
because to be the true Chad, you would have to have come to it of your own volition. I think if you're just watching someone do it and then you're being influenced by that, that is by definition not.
Well, this
Chad.
is why I'm trying to get to like the public comments, because if somebody's saying if the partner is irritated and Destiny doesn't care, then that's one thing. If the partner is irritated and Destiny understands, but is still going to do what he's going to do, those two things are kind of different, how he's going to behave. And then how does he present it? Does he say, I don't give a fuck and act aloof? Or does, and call her crazy and put it off of him? Or does he put it off of him but accept some responsibility? Like, if you treat most things like a definite or a 100%, then it's probably not real.
Well, okay, hold on. He tells his audience that what he does is something most people shouldn't do or can't do. What his relationship style, he tells them frequently. Well, I'm a I do polyamory, but most people can't handle this. And in that it's almost a Gigachad. It's like it is a Gigachad. He's saying like, I do this, but you shouldn't be doing this. Knowing people are going to emulate him, I think that there's nothing wrong with emulating somebody, but emulating somebody that says that you shouldn't be emulating them, I don't know. Maybe I'm confused.
It's like when people would watch Jackass and it has the fucking disclaimer in the beginning. It says, "Don't do this at home. We're idiots." Yada yada yada. But it's hanging a lampshade. As anybody that likes themselves, if you like yourself, if you think there's something cool about you and you want to share it with people, every streamer has some level of that, because otherwise you would hide yourself. Then that by demonstrating that and demonstrating the value of it, that other people are going to see it and be like, God, I want to be like that. I'm going to start being like that. That's why you say, by the way, you can't get away with this. Don't try this at home.
Right. Nobody's letting me say this.
Okay.
No. I mean, that's the phrase.
Oh.
Nobody lets me say this. They're silencing me. I'm not even allowed to say this.
Yeah,
and then they say it.
The MTG strategy, right?
Yeah.
I was just I now remembered the last part of that thought. I don't think that there's inherently anything wrong with emulating people, and I think that even the true Chad probably had to learn from somewhere. So, I don't know, maybe they learned from Jesus in the Bible because they're such I don't know, whatever. But yeah, I don't think that having learned it, I don't think anybody comes to anything naturally, actually.
Totally determinist, huh?
Yes. Very
well,
pretty soy.
Environmental determinist as opposed to biodeterminist.
Yeah, very much. I like to
I don't know.
argue
I think
with
at some point,
people
that-
about it.
Smeth,
I think at
Who's
some
fault-
point you take people's ideas and you switch out enough of the stuff that they probably end up becoming your ideas eventually.
Hmm.
So then you're your own volition at that point. You're not like being influenced by somebody.
Oh yeah, 'cause
Wait.
I see what you're saying. So you're not doing it because you saw it on a movie. You're doing it because you saw it on a movie and now you believe it, and you're not thinking about the movie. It's just who you are.
Yes, I
Yeah,
think
when-
that's possible, right?
Yeah, once you embody something, yeah, I guess it is volitional, but that requires that you be of like self-awareness and intelligence to know that that's where it came from. I think a lot of people believe it not by choice, like they embody it and then they keep perpetuating it. That's like the reproduction of personality, right?
Well, so like you're basically, to me, you're describing MAGA, where like there is an entire group of people whose factual foundation is based on misinformation they've been fed by intentional propagandists. Like you look at the settlement they just made and the lies that came out about them saying, we know this isn't stolen, we know this isn't stolen, that lady told the truth, fire her. The people that believe it as a reality, whether it's real or not. That is their reality. And accepting that their false reality is their actual reality, that's, I think, where like the empathy side of them being manipulated comes in. Like, you don't know you don't know. So yelling at you because you don't know is not even useful. You're a victim.
Yeah, but you're by your own account, right? That if you're a victim, then you're the victim of a victim of a victim of a
They
victim.
become a victimizer eventually if they don't
Okay.
understand.
Okay, then when do you think that is? Because if you're saying that what's the flipping point between when something is you are merely a product of your conditions versus when you are a person who is like making a choice?
You can be both. So you when you start propagating it and spreading it as your truth, then you become a purveyor of misinformation, but you're still purveying misinformation you're receiving. So I don't have sympathy for your actions and the consequences you're going to pay for those actions, but I can understand the things that got you where you are. Unless you're a Tucker or an Alex Jones or a Shapiro who aren't there for any, they don't believe they're acting in a moral good. They understand they're acting against public interest.
Yeah.
So
sure.
the other people don't believe that. There are purveyors of misinformation that believe they're acting in the best intent. And so they're causing harm, but they're still the victim at the same time. So it's both.
If you think that the point that you become responsible is when you believe is the point of moral concession, then I'll agree with you. I think that's that's at least definite, but I think it might be sooner than that.
Well, no. We're talking about you're going to be responsible for your actions no matter what. You're never like an innocent victim because you chose to go do an act. Even if you thought it was in the better good, you were wrong. Like violating the law that you didn't understand was a law you're violating, still a law you're violating. But you could be doing it without the intent of violating the law or like there. I think
The thing is,
we can agree there's a lot of people. Wait, I can explain it easy. There's a lot of people that stormed the Capitol that did a wrong, but they thought they were saving the country.
Right, I agree with that. The only problem with what you're saying is your like the last thing you said. I completely agree, but you're framing it all within the assumption that you are like a knower of truth, where like
No. Okay, sorry. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
you like even as perceptive as you may be, as much as of truth as you may see, and as correct as you could be about the misinformation someone else is absorbing, you are also subject to other misinformation too.
Sure. Which is why we analyze the source information so that we can make sure we are where we are. I'm not telling them they're wrong. I have done the research to know the election wasn't stolen, that hydroxychloroquine doesn't work, that there isn't a Q clearance patriot giving them orders to become a baker. That these things they believe are real, but they are not.
Can I check with something though?
Yeah.
The same way that you feel a duty towards truth, many feel a duty towards something that exists in that space instead, whether or not that is some kind of narrative, religious or political, that has been injected into them at some previous point. I'm not convinced that the entry of whatever that thing being plugged into the brain to occupy that space is something by choice. I think that for some people, truth gets plugged in there. For some people, it's politics, religion, whatever's plugged in there is plugged in involuntarily. So if they are acting and they are determining all things in measure, if the measure of value is not truth, but is instead what is of service to God or what is of service to this narrative, then how are you going to?
Can we say that breaks down to core belief? The truth, like that, when you hear somebody,
hold on, you're just putting so much. You want to call it core belief instead of what he said, because you want to give the person more agency, the person you're disagreeing with more agency. But I the way I see it as an environmental determinist is that like both I have no agency and you have no agency, and we're both like leaves in the wind.
What does that ever stop?
No.
So at no point can you question the environment you're in? You
can try, and it's good to try. And you can be part of the environment. So you can be part of the wind that blows everybody. You're talking publicly, you're part of it, but you can't be free from the wind.
I'm so lost at what you're talking about.
I'm so glad it's not just me.
I'm saying you get your ideas and you're influenced by all these different things, and what you perceive as fact or what is your values, like you get this shit plugged into you. You get Christianity plugged into your brain, you get liberalism plugged into your brain or whatever from like a young age or whatever, and we have all this shit that we believe, and we trust certain types of people that other people don't trust, and that's just all like you didn't choose all that when you're growing up, and you want to just say it's core beliefs, and I think just saying it's core beliefs dismisses the fact that the core beliefs themselves come from chaos. And like,
no, wait a minute. If you've been indoctrinated into,
you have too.
Just wait a second. If you've been indoctrinated into, a radical evangelical cult, does
liberalism or
I mean, or science, you were born into Scientology and you spent the first 20 years of your life on the boat, right? Does there ever become an age where you have agency?
I think there is.
Yeah, but Smeth is arguing that there isn't. And I think that's like I don't understand how that works.
Are we just totally off the Gigachad?
Way off.
Oh yeah, we're absolutely off. Yeah.
Like,
does
this relate at all? Like, does anyone? Did anyone have any?
I think
Tuna thinks it relates.
Thank
you.
Hold
on. I'm curious. Like, can we relate it back to?
Let's
relate it back to the?
Yeah.
If you can, shit. I'm just
Okay, the landing is when we're talking about people that are doing the Gigachad thing, and we're talking about like, oh, I'm you're performing this because you're trying to look really cool to people, or you're performing this because you want to look like you are really morally upstanding, all of this stuff, it's because you are part of this idea and you feel like of service to it. I think that that's an ideological position. And I think that the only way, if to claim that people can do anything other than try to be Gigachad or try to be Gigasoy when they are a person that was born and bred into that like position, we need to actually believe that exit is possible to judge for it.
Yes.
That's kind of the connective tissue.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think they're welcome, Star. Give me 1 second. And so I think that's where the empathy comes in of you are a product of your environment, but you also have to take responsibility for your actions. Like there was a state that just made it so that some church can diddle kids and not have to abide by the law.
Is Mr. Girl moving there?
Put the citations in the chat.
What are you looking for, a realtor?
Because this is starting to sound like faux news right now.
No, I'll get it for you. I'm telling you, there was just the Supreme Court in that state just ruled that the religious organization doesn't have to abide by the like child abuse legal law. They govern themselves like as if they were a reservation.
Is that Gigachad or is that soy?
It's fucking disgusting. It's fucking disgusting is what
obviously.
It is. Okay,
well,
Star,
okay.
welcome.
We know because we know
It's very soy opinion though.
Yes, welcome.
Thanks for having me. So what's this topic? What topic is this?
We started by defining soy in Gigachad. So can you try to define Gigachad and soy for us?
Yeah, soy is caring a little bit too much about things and letting things get to you. If I'm thinking about the internet terms, right? Soy is basically letting things that shouldn't get to you get to you. Gigachad is basically just not giving a fuck about things, right? Not giving a fuck about what people think, not giving a fuck about what people say, and just kind of living your life no matter how people try to fuck with you, I guess.
Now is that an authentic not give a fuck or a projected not give a fuck?
An authentic one, but I think you have to fake it till you make it. So yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. And then I think we got into
Here's the thing though, you can be a Gigachad and you can not give a fuck about things, but it depends on who you are, and people will be like, "Oh, you're being a pushover" or something like that, right? So it really depends. And you have being a Gigachad doesn't always work out for everybody, but I mean, at the end of the day, you got to do you, So that's kind of what it is.
So Gigachad would be both the behavior, but also the perception of that behavior by an audience.
I don't know. I think you can. I think you can be Gigachad without an audience perceiving it as Gigachad, but yeah, generally, like sometimes people, if somebody hates you enough, it doesn't matter what you do. Like they're just gonna hate you. So no reason in trying to trying to win them over. So
I think that if you're Gigachad and you don't care, there's a big difference between not caring and saying that you don't care, especially if you're a streamer, because so at the point at which you actually say that you don't care, you've moved beyond actually not caring, because not caring means you just like you're out for lunch, you're not even engaging, if you can just leave. But if you want to say that you don't care, that's you actually care about saying you don't care.
Sure. I don't think well, by the way, I don't think that many people are outwardly stating that they don't care. What they're doing is they're acting in such a way that other people look at them and they're like, oh, nonchalant, non-caring. Star, do you agree that the main thing that determines whether or not somebody thinks that you're a Gigachad or soy is because they think they know your intentions behind your behavior? Yeah. I was using the Destiny and Melina thing as an example, because people that are like liberal will see Destiny not caring about Melina sleeping around as Gigachad. He doesn't care what she does in bed. But then everybody, like people on the right, will say he's coping. He actually cares, but he can't speak up about it because she's too hot for him. It's like all about what they think that they're in your head.
Sure. Sure. I wouldn't use that example necessarily just because I think it's like too personal of an example, but yeah, sure. It definitely comes down to perception. And like I said, there's gonna be just some audiences, there's gonna be some people that even if you are Gigachad, even if you really don't give a fuck, they're gonna find a reason to say that you give a fuck. Or they're gonna find a reason to they're gonna find a reason to say, oh, you're just coping, you know? Or they'll say, yeah, you don't care because you're a dumb fuck, you know? So yeah. Which is my case a lot of the time.
Do you
I
think
was
it's
gonna say,
harder?
is it ever true that case?
I'm starting to think that being a Gigachad is just entirely subjective based on community. And there probably will never be such a thing as like an objective Gigachad.
Well, it's again, I think there's two different definitions. There's like the I don't give a fuck behavior and being willing to just take something like a man and deal with it and like boldly chest out do something. People are like, wow, that's kind of Gigachad. Like that's an authentic Gigachad. But then there's people that are like, oh, based, he raped her. Like that's like the faux Gigachad for attention. Like, well, it's no different than based Hitler. Like it's it's for attention. It's not. I mean, for the most part, there can be people like Ye who have the balls to just speak their mind.
Sure. I mean, even the Hitler example comes to mind, right? You could say that Hitler was soy. We talk about him being like his speeches. He's soy as fuck. He's so triggered. He's so triggered. Look at this. Look at this triggered fucking German bitch. And then people would also say, oh, he doesn't care what the German media says about, or the Jewish controlled German media says about it. Like, yeah, it is subjective and it comes down to the community, like you were saying, Will. But I do think also that the word and the dynamic is always present in every single community. And it is always about the idea of the unbothered individual. And the reason they're unbothered is because they're at the top of the hierarchy. And what defines whether or not someone is Gigachad is the nature of that social hierarchy.
All right. Now, the other thing that I'm trying to separate too is what is more honest, being soy or being Gigachad?
I think again, it really depends on the person, right? Like you can be honest about being soy, and you can be honest about caring. You can be honest about being a Gigachad or not Gigachad. You can be honest about not caring, right? But if an audience hates you enough, it doesn't matter, right? If somebody hates you enough, it really doesn't matter, and that's why you kind of have to start learning how to separate your streamer self, which is a brand, from your personal self, right? Because what people are doing really is they're essentially like brand testing you, right? And if you get too personally attached to that brand, you're gonna get triggered, and then people are they're gonna try and see your brand break, or they're gonna try and see you break, right? So that is something that I learned very early on. And I think again, it really doesn't matter. You can care about things. You can be honest about caring things. You can be honest about not caring about things. People will find a way to turn that against you.
It's that kayfabe thing, right? That was being said before. It's like wrestling. You play your character, and they're trying to get you to get out of character. That's insightful. That's insightful.
Okay. For one of the first things we started talking about, we were framing it. TunaChip especially started this conversation. We were saying that whole Gigachad thing is very male oriented, and it's much harder for a woman to be seen as a Gigachad, because when a woman does the Gigachad thing, she's just a bitch, you know? Do you feel that?
Or you're just stupid, right? It's like, oh, yeah. I really don't care what people say about me. Like the other day when people are like, why do you still engage with this person when he was yelling at you about your pussy lips, spreading your pussy lips on the internet? And it's like, I don't give a fuck, right? But it's like, oh, you have no self-respect, you really just don't, you have no self-respect, or why do you engage with these people who hate you, right? I don't give a fuck, right? But oh no, you're stupid, you're just being a useful idiot, right? I don't care. But at the end of the day, I can't convince anybody, right? So I just keep doing what I'm doing. So yeah.
Men want women to be bothered and men to be unbothered, and women want women to be unbothered and men to be bothered. Everybody I think that a lot of this comes from the fucking dating dynamics. People want the opposite sex to care more than them because To be the person who cares less is fucking powerful.
So here's my question. How many times of saying we don't care is kind of signaling that we do care? And I guess, Star, my question is you complained about the left about 30 times the other day while you were exposing the pedophilia of the right. So if the left doesn't actually bother you, why did it come up so many times while
it
talking
does.
about
Like,
pedophiles?
don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong, right? I don't like. Here's the thing. When it comes to engaging with people I know are supposed to hate me, I don't care, right? Like, I expect that. But I will say it's still annoying when I'm trying to do my thing, just trying to do what I'm doing, and people think that I'm think that I'm an idiot in the way that I'm engaging with people when I have a very clear goal, right? Just because people don't understand the goal that I'm doing, doesn't mean that that there isn't one there. There isn't a plan there, right? And I get it. Like, I'm not very open about that, but yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, it's annoying and I'm going to complain about it. Yeah, I do care to some extent. It's just I don't care about people calling me calling me fat, or calling me ugly, or people on one side of the political spectrum, hating my guts, because I expect it, right?
Well,
But it is frustrating to have people constantly constantly demean you and put down your intelligence and act like you don't know what you're talking about when you're probably one of the most knowledgeable people about that one thing. That's probably what I would say.
The reason it doesn't bother you is because they don't understand what it is that you find valuable about what you're doing. So they're insulting all the wrong things. They're criticizing all the wrong things. That's not going to bother you. The thing that makes people end up being soy, and I think the reason that we like to poke and prod is because we like to say, hey, buddy, I know the thing that you're insecure about. And someone will be like, why are you looking at the chat? Type that into somebody's, you keep looking at chat, type that into a streamer's thing anytime that you see their eye jerk, and you will see the grimace, because that's the thing they're insecure about, and you caught their.
That's pretty funny. Well,
Yeah.
Would you say, Star, that the lefties that read and screeched at you for months at a time didn't ever really ask you what you were hoping to accomplish, other than just accusing you of what you were doing?
There was some of that, but I think also it was just not even asking. It was just straight up just straight up being demeaning, right? And then it turns out there's actual insight to be gained from observing different spaces, and it's fine if other people don't see that, but to call me a useful idiot, or to say that I'm only there to be a punching bag is just inaccurate. I dealt with a lot of shit when I first entered those spaces. I got hate rated for a week straight by somebody who had hundreds of people on me, had 600 people watching all the time. Anytime I went live, I had somebody hate rating me, and it made me reconsider whether I could even stream. And I got through that, and I got through everything else everybody flung at me. So it's not like I'm just here, oh, they're nice to me, and then I'll be nice to them because they're being nice to me. That's not how it is. I know what I'm getting into. And I've dealt with the real repercussions of it. So it just feels like people are assuming things about what I'm doing, and assuming things about me that are just inaccurate, that aren't a reflection of who I am as a person.
I find that online, in this fucking streaming and shit, people will often cruelly, almost insidiously, they'll define you by how other people treat you rather than by your intentions, or if other people treat you like a punching bag, it's well, why are you a punching bag? And it's well, I'm a punching bag because they treated me like a punching bag, you asshole. You know what I mean?
Well, wait a minute. Let me stick to that, because to give you a plug, but also make pose a question or two to you. You have a very important interview tomorrow, and I am like extremely happy for you. Kudos, like that is a major deal. One, how do you feel about that? You want to tell them what I'm talking about?
Yeah. So I'm going to be interviewing Milo tomorrow, and possibly having a caller or two, also during that. But yeah, it feels good to be able to have that interview. But at the same time, I know everybody who's asking me about it is like, oh, what about that Destiny Milo debate, right? And it's like, well, yeah, that Destiny Milo debate was really good. Destiny performed really well. But my point of this interview with him is about the Ollie Alexander controversy. And I know that like half the people who come to check it out are going to be saying, Stardust, why don't you question him on his gay conversion therapy stuff? Or Stardust, why don't you question him on him writing a book for Marjorie Taylor Greene, when the goal of my interview with him is to explicitly talk about not those things. The goal of my interview is to talk specifically about the Ollie Alexander America First controversy right now. So I know I'm going to get that. That's like something I'm anticipating.
Can you really isolate this to just the like current accusations? Because the reason I ask this is as soon as things like this have happened in the past, the first thing that goes on is fundraising. And then they end up in a lawsuit of Ollie Alexander and say Milo. And then that lawsuit ends up getting settled quietly. So we have no idea whatever happened, yet they did fundraising.
One of them already filed a police report. One of them filed a police report a couple of days ago. I just know it's going to happen because the same thing happened with like the third Richard Spencer interview, right? I was interviewing him specifically about drama happening in the space, and everybody had a problem with the third interview, which is like fine if you want me to challenge people on things. It happens even now when I talk to like AF people, right? Just 2 days ago, I talked to somebody from AF, and they were telling me about the drama that's going on, while also basically saying in the same sentence, just having a problem with homosexuality and making them analogous in their head, right, with the PDF file stuff. And I don't have the time. I don't have the time to interrupt that person in the middle of them telling me about drama to start debate broing them about why homosexuality is not analogous with PDF file stuff. Because right now I'm trying to get information about the Ollie Alexander stuff, get information about what did you know, right? At another date, I'm happy to challenge people on that. But in the moment, in the heat of the moment, it's like if a cop is interrogating somebody, right? And all of a sudden that suspect says something not homosexual, something homophobic, right? In the middle of your interrogation, are you going to start debate broing the suspect?
Right. No, exactly.
Do you feel an obligation to like field these criticisms and respond to them?
So I think I have a pretty good community that will the closest, like the people who are super tight in my community are willing to give me a lot of criticisms, right? They're willing to be very openly critical of me, and they've done so even in my own chat, right? So I do want to engage with criticisms, but at the same time, there are times where I get criticism for outside communities that are so wildly off base that it doesn't make sense for me to waste my time on them, right? So if somebody's telling me like, oh, in the middle of you talking to those two guys and they're telling you about what Nick Fuentes knew about this and what he didn't know, why didn't you challenge them about their thoughts on homosexuality? Well, I can't. I'm interviewing them about whether Nick Fuentes knew about Ollie Alexander. I'm not interviewing them about their thoughts on homosexuality. If I start debate broing them in the middle of the interview, we're not going to get anywhere.
Right.
When is the engagement with the criticism Gigachad or Soy?
Well, wait a second. Well, wait.
Oh, that's a good question.
Hold on. My question, I guess, is if the misinformation that's coming or the information coming is misinformation, what do you do about that? Like, so, I know it's an interview.
Yeah, so usually what happens is like after I'm done with being on the call with them, I'll explain to my chat what exactly is going on, right? I'll explain the language that these people use, right? Specifically in this part of the internet and this part of the political sphere, they have this common view that this thing is analogous with this thing. Now, obviously, you guys know, and I know that this is not true, right? We know that there is medical literature that says that is not the case. And that's usually what I'll do after an interview like that, where somebody will pass a couple of things. But to be real with you guys, it is impossible to stop a person every single time they say something, because again, they use different vocabulary, you know?
You
So,
can, but it would ruin
yeah.
the whole thing.
Will you
It
let
would,
Will?
yeah.
Will you let Will ask his question? I'm sorry, I cut him off.
Sure.
When is engaging with the criticism Gigachad, and when is engaging with the criticism Soy?
That's a good question, because you can engage with criticism and you can say, okay, I accept that. Sure, there are things that I can improve on, and people will still think that you're not engaging with it, right? So for example, I've had a couple of debates with Mindwaves, and in several of those, I was even open to saying like, hey, like, yeah, obviously I'm not the best interviewer in the world. I have a lot of things to improve on, and I'm working on it, right? Obviously there are points in certain interviews where I could have done better, 100%. But even that wasn't enough for the guy, right? Like even that was like, oh, Stardust doesn't like criticism. Stardust doesn't engage with criticism, which is like, hello, I just said okay to you, and I still like I just acknowledged it, right? So I think it's hard to say because again, if somebody is bent on disliking you, it doesn't matter how much you engage with their criticism. They're going to be like, oh, she didn't really, you know, or you know, oh, he didn't really. So you kind of, it's hard in the beginning when you start getting a lot of like a flood of criticism. Sorry, did I cause somebody to leave?
I don't think so.
Okay, yeah, it's hard in the beginning to really sift through it, and I think you kind of have to have some good community members who can sift through valid criticisms and bring them to you, and then tell you, yeah, don't really listen to this thing, right? It can be really hard to do that. So, yeah.
I think a big issue is just like concern trolls that are just people that are like they're trolling you, but maybe they don't even know they're doing it, which is
They're just being soy.
They're
They
no,
might
they're
not
not
know
being not being soy. They're being almost disingenuous. They're trying to find your insecurities. So they're just like acting like they have criticism, and then they'll give you criticism until it like seems to get a response out of you, because they just want to get a response out of you. So they'll keep saying shit like, oh yeah, but don't you know you're doing this, or don't you know? And then once they get to the thing that hurts you, then that's their sticking point, because they get a response out of you, because they're looking for something.
Yeah.
I'm actually a huge fan of the Mindwaves platforming manifesto. Could I ask one question specifically about
Sure,
it that
go ahead,
relates to
yeah.
being soy? Is that okay,
Yeah.
F-bombs?
Yeah, sure, absolutely.
There's a section, I believe it's number 4, and it says, basically he's giving examples of like excuses, and I'm not saying you make these excuses, but the people make, and then kind of responses to them. And one of them is, I can't provide pushback because I have to build rapport. So what Mindwaves suggests you do is that you can still implement strategies outlined in the how you can responsibly platform someone section of this document without coming across as particularly hostile or soy. And you can engage in rapport building to an extent, but it is not an excuse to engage in a meek manner for an extended period of time or for multiple interactions to no end. Alternatively, you can also engage in rapport building online. I think that there is some kind of there probably is some kind of a line where you start engaging with somebody and you have a certain like amount of audience watching you, where you might start damaging.
Wait a minute. Wait.
Yeah.
While I have struggled with bringing people onto your platform, because I think there are places and spaces where you can accomplish the same thing without it being your platform. Regardless of that, right? If Stardust is doing an interview of somebody, why does she owe something more than any other journalist? Like, why would Stardust be held to a higher standard than 60 Minutes? Like 60 Minutes didn't push back on Marge really calling Democrats pedophiles very well. Why is it Stardust's personal responsibility to push back?
Well, look, I think when there's an opportunity to do so, certainly, yeah, I can build rapport with people and still push back, right? So recently, I was on a call with Richard Spencer, Ethan Ralph, and what's this other guy? He's another guy who's like a little bit of a conspiracy theorist, right? And I think in that I was pretty like, I was still kind of, building rapport with people, but I was still like, honestly, guys, like, I don't buy what you're saying, about you. They were getting kind of anti-Semitic, and I was like, guys, I don't really think that's right. I don't think that's, honestly, that's not. I have no evidence to believe that. I don't know why you think that. It's really not. There's no evidence for me to believe that. And I think if you're gonna, and I would bring up other things, right? So it's not like it's not like that criticism isn't valid. For sure, it is. But I think, again, I've never claimed to be perfect, and that's something that I tried to outline to Mindwaves himself. I tried to be like, yeah, there are places where I can improve 100%, but unless I've seeded on everything that he brought to me, that he would not be happy with my response. Essentially, you can go through like some of these conversations, and I do try to find middle ground with him, but because I'm not like 100 seating on 100% of everything, he is not willing to view the conversation as successful, I guess. So
Like,
yeah.
let me try and rephrase the conversation, because I totally know what you
Yeah.
mean. Like, if you're just, if your intention is to go in and interview somebody, ask questions, you don't really have an obligation to provide pushback, theoretically, because you're interviewing them.
Will is a good interviewer.
I guess what I was trying to, to rephrase the question is more like, when in an interview do you think something could,
better.
like, what would be the crossing where you'd be like, I can't just ask this guy questions anymore.
That's a better.
I
That's a
need to
better
start
question
pushing
of
back.
what I
Sure.
was. Yeah, better.
Sure, I think
Yeah.
it depends, right? Because I think in some interviews, like, you kind of let the person go off and continue to go off because you know that they look kind of crazy, right?
Interesting.
And oftentimes that strategy works for me where people are going off. Keffels is an example that ended up making her look really bad. There's another example with like Ethan Ralph where he explodes on me, and that ended up looking worse for him than for me. But yeah, there are some cases, and I think I can't really tell you right now in this moment. But I guess as I do more of them, I'll be able to tell you, I guess. But yeah, obviously there are going to be moments where it's like, this person is advocating for something that clearly is wrong, right? And then I would be like, I have to say that I really don't agree with that. I have to say that that's really not right. And so, I think if somebody's advocating for people to do things that are wrong, then, obviously step in, right? But it really depends case to case. You can't
And while
really
you do that,
predict.
it'll never be enough, though, right?
Yeah, obviously it won't be enough, right? People, and the thing is, I think people are kind of like conditioned in this space to see like the conflict as something super heated, like a yelling match, right? And while that works for some people, I think in certain cases, right, like the most recent panel I was on, that was on Ethan's show, I think the best way to sometimes engage with people is to say, well, like, I really don't see what you're talking about here, and kind of try to make them justify why they believe the things that they believe.
Yeah,
So,
that's what you were
yeah.
saying earlier. Like
Yeah.
making them answer for what
It's
they're
a
saying instead
panel.
of letting them off the hook.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, kind of
you're
like
fucking dumb.
tomfoolery with Lav, the conversation you had with Lav the other day, right? I went to tomfoolery, I'm like, tomfoolery, like, Tom, how can you complain about Kidology asking stupid questions from Max when you had that conversation with Lav? Like, you didn't ask her what abuse is, what her definition of abuse is. You didn't ask her what exactly in these interactions she qualifies as abusive, right? Like, you didn't ask her to clarify anything. I'm not saying you even have to push back, right? Just ask her clarifying questions.
So you would say that the non-debate interview style is like you're not asking open-ended, let them go forever questions. It's like they say something controversial. That's the useful part to get them to define.
Yeah, you want to get them to clarify more. You want to get them to. So one example is, I think, the second interview with Spencer. He starts talking about like Jewish people and the origins of Jewish people. And he talks about Abrahamic faiths, and like listening to him, I'm like, okay, let's see where this is going. So then he finishes that, and what I gather is he basically is implying that that Abrahamic religions are a conspiracy theory made by Jewish people. So I just straight up ask him, like, hey, are you implying that Abrahamic religions are a conspiracy made up by Jewish people to like control people? And immediately he has to start denying it. He's like, no, I'm not saying that. I'm like, well, like you kind of are. And then you know, he denies it there, you know, but obviously, like, I don't know. It does become apparent later. Like Spencer is one of those people you kind of have to have like 5 conversations with to really start to get to know who he is. Like, and you know, with the Apolloism stuff, it's kind of like I view it as a pseudo religion, because that's it's kind of like a set of stories that he's trying to make that basically him and his friend believe that these stories in Abrahamic faiths will idolize Jewish people, or idolize, like, you know, put Jewish people above people. That's like you know, what they think in their head, right? And so their Apolloism is partly also an attempt to create a bunch of like stories and fables that don't idolize Jewish people, that non-Jews can be you know, the heroes of, and stuff like that, which is you know, which is weird to me. So
Sounds kind of soy.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah.
They need a new story to justify the belief they want to have.
Yeah, and you know, and so that's kind of the read that I get on it right now. And you know, obviously, like, yeah, I you know, when I have conversations, like, if you ask me honestly, like, if people in my chat ask me, like, has he changed, like in some ways, yeah, but he's still anti-Semitic. Like, he's still very
He's
anti-Semitic.
changed, but he's not different. Go ahead, Will.
Yeah. He's you know, he's moved on from like the idea of an ethno-state essentially, but he believes in it in the way he believes it in a different sense, right? He believes in it with the European Union, I guess, which is like a whole other thing, right? So if people were to ask me, I'd be like, honestly, like, I mean, he is still very anti-Semitic, you know, and so so I'm not trying to paint him as anything different from what he is, but he, you know, these people, you have to get to know them. You have to build some sort of relationship with them for them to trust you and really come out to you and be honest with you. So yeah,
I think that Richard Spencer and his communication style is interesting because he comes from a time where Soy, like, so we were saying that Gigachad is kind of the dominant now, but like it's a response to a few years ago when Soy was dominant. Like, everybody was being like super Soy all the time, and now Gigachad is like, you know, that we don't want to be a virtue signaler, we don't want to be Soy, so you're making a stance against that. But his communication style sort of comes from the Soy time, so I think he dodoes communicate a lot more genuinely than the Gigachad stuff.
You have to. So I'll give you an example. 5 years ago, Sargon of Akkad and Richard Spencer had a debate about ethno-states. And Sargon of Akkad was very, very combative with Richard, whereas Richard was actually incredibly polite, incredibly reasonable. And guess who came out looking better in that, right? Even if Sargon of Akkad was right in saying, like, you know, this idea is fucking crazy, Richard, what are you talking about? Richard Spencer came out looking better. Sargon looked like he lost that debate so hard that he has another channel now, that he doesn't even do stuff on his main channel.
He John-troned it.
And the video got a million views. That debate got like 1 million views, and Richard ended up looking like a reasonable guy because that's how he comes off. That's his communication style. And like, you know, debate broing people or being condescending to people in a lot of these situations ends up helping them. So that's like an example I give, right? Sargon of Akkad dealt with it firsthand.
Sargon, if he like started getting emotional and freaking out, he would have out-soyed Spencer though. Like, that would be the double soy.
Well, he didn't even. The thing is, like, Soy wasn't even the concept, right? Because they didn't like call him Soy. They were like, Sargon, you're being a pretentious fuck. Like, why are you being so pretentious? And because he looks so pretentious, like he ended up losing that debate. So, yeah.
That's a great debate. That's a fucking classic.
Yeah.
Yeah, I gotta get out of here. Stardust, it was nice seeing you.
Yeah, I'm getting exhausted actually. Yeah.
All right, yeah.
Sorry, I
Peace
didn't
out,
mean to
guys.
ramble.
Yeah, go
No,
on.
no, no.
No, you're fine.
Sorry, here's my question to you. Do you think that Milo, Nick, Spencer, that these people are significantly more skilled at knowing what they're presenting outward than people give them credit for?
Yeah, I think so. I think yeah, I think so, definitely. They're you kind of have to, I don't know, like if you don't engage with them in it's hard to explain. So I remember having talking to Nick Fuentes, and we had a panel, and he had crashed my panel, and there was somebody in my panel who kept saying, Nick, why won't you admit you're anti-Semitic? Nick, why won't you admit you're anti-Semitic? Come out and say it with your chest. And Nick is like, I am anti-Semitic. What are you talking about? I don't ever deny that. And then it just ended up kind of backfiring,
Of
So
course.
yeah, so I think I don't know. Yeah, people know, these guys know what they're doing. They know how to talk to people. They know how to present themselves, um, and they're. It depends on the person, really. But
Well, like,
yeah,
is
yeah.
Nick different in a panel as he would be in a one-on-one? Like, are they that aware? Do they know how they have to behave in different situations? And I don't mean know how to do it.
Yeah.
I mean, are they crafting it? Is what I mean.
I mean, I think they're skilled rhetoricians, if that's what you're asking, right? They're very skilled rhetoricians. I think I think Nick is pretty much the same person on a panel as he is doing his show, but it's still something, he has to be kind of skilled at speaking to do either one of those. So, and one thing you'll notice with a lot of America First members is that they're all very good at speaking. They all have a really, really good way of presenting ideas, of being relatable, of speaking clearly and very easy to understand. And so that is something that they value a lot. So yeah.
More self-control over the reeing when they don't like something, like the lefties did to you.
Yeah. So I mean, yeah, I don't know. I'm still kind of working things out in my head and understanding things, but I try to understand everybody like as an individual, and I think that's like a better way to kind of understand how people work and what they do. So.
How do you feel about the Milo thing tomorrow? He scares me more than the other people. Not on like rhetoric or like there's people that say crazy shit, but as like he seems like a scary guy. Like I feel like he would trigger me in a way that would make me freak out just because he's good at it.
Yeah, I'm not too worried about it. I mean, again, my goal of that conversation tomorrow is specifically the America First, Ollie Alexander stuff. Ask him about like how long did he know about this? How long were you, waiting on this? And what are your thoughts on these different people in this space?
Now, why? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Why you?
So yeah, I'm not too worried about it, to be honest with you, because I've talked with so many controversial people and people who are out like try to trigger me. So yeah, I'm not really too worried in that sense, I guess. So
Why do you think he chose you?
I don't know. That's a good question. I think he probably noticed I was tweeting about it, and I'm one of the few people covering it online. So, and I have a history of interviewing controversial people as well. So, and I've been as neutral as I could be on the subject. So, not really sure why he chose me.
Well, does it benefit him in a different way? Like, it's now national news. So if he wants the highest possible profile, he could go to a 24-hour news station. But these people are well thought out. So there's a reason to have chosen you. I think the fear I always have when it comes to the platforming discussion isn't the actual conversation, it's what they're planning on doing with that conversation. And if they can get 1 or 2 clips of Milo talking to you, a regular person, that can be sent out to the news, that's a way more cultivated environment than the news themselves.
I don't know that, to be honest with you, I think most news outlets don't really care about any clips of me, to be honest with you. I think, he has been reposting and retweeting other members within the far right who are critical of Nick Fuentes, who are also critical of him, actually, people who have been very critical of him. But as long as they're critiquing Nick Fuentes, as long as they are calling out what's happening, he's been signal boosting them. So I think he actually does care about this thing with Ali Alexander, believe it or not. And I think he cares about that story kind of coming to front. So,
well, I'll be interested to hear his reason why he waited.
Yeah, I will be too. So
I watched a Sam Cedar where he was talking about this, and he just discussed that, like, they hold information for when it's most politically expedient or when it can cause the most amount of damage, and that they wield these pieces of information like weapons. And that's what always makes me nervous in a situation like this, where he's there. I won't be surprised if we do see clips of your interview, because they've closely controlled the face-to-face contact they have put out since this story broke. There's been some audio, there's been some tweets, but there have not been a lot of face-to-face interviews.
Well, part of that is also, I think, trying to protect the people who are accusing Ali Alexander, because now you can see Smiley was somebody who exchanged inappropriate messages with Ali Alexander, and he was going to do an interview with Ethan Ralph, and he backed out of it last minute, and now all of them are attacking him. So I think that's part of the reason. People don't realize how volatile that far right space is. But even when the drama isn't something like this, I've seen people swatting each other, people doxing each other. They're very intense.
While I agree with you, I'm more worried about this far right space has made its way into international news, into dinners with the president. They are way bigger than the small fracturing of the right. And I'm more thinking this is now a national story of infighting of the alt-right, that they have none of the parties. Nick isn't out there doing interviews. Ollie's not out there doing interviews. Nobody. They've kept the very media specific lid on this. And I'm always afraid of people that spend their lives living in half-truths and propaganda.
I don't know what this is. This Ollie Alexander thing, I don't know what it is.
Oh, okay. So it's basically everything that is going on right now. I'm one of the few people covering it. But essentially, this person, his name is Ali Alexander. He was the organizer of Stop the Steal. He is somebody who's worked with Marjorie Taylor Greene. He's worked with Trump. He's worked with Ye. He was on the Ye 24 campaign as an advisor, and he's affiliated with Nick Fuentes. Milo came out and accused him of essentially exchanging inappropriate messages with young men, especially young underage men. There have been 2 people who've come out to say that they exchanged messages with him at the age of 15. There was even a Groyper who came out and said at 15 he sent him inappropriate photos, like nude pictures. And basically, you know, the allegation is Ali Alexander would kind of leverage his power and his influence and the ability to get a job with certain people to get inappropriate pictures and get and be affectionate with young men in an inappropriate way. There have been rumors on the internet for years now that Ali Alexander engaged in this kind of stuff, right? But there was never any like solid proof of it. It was just rumors that would float around, right? So it's not something particularly new, but the evidence is new. And the fact that Milo has kind of contacted, and now there are like 25 people who are saying that they've had experiences with Ali Alexander is kind of a big deal. So
that like, oh man, that does sound like, and from the way you're talking about it, I believe everything you're saying, but like, I hate that it's Milo because like, did you ever watch like Lauren?
Worse than that.
Did you ever watch Lauren Southern's like thing?
Yeah,
like,
I did. So
I don't trust
will say
Milo at all.
Yeah, no. So Milo does have a history of reporting things and saying things that turn out to be inaccurate or untrue. And that's something that I also will outline to my chat all the time when I'm going through this stuff. But at the same time, when he does leak stuff, and it seems like he's leaking stuff, he's got the receipts. It seems when he leaks stuff, it tends to be like pretty sound, right? I've never seen him leak like something and it not be sound. I've just seen him make claims where it's turned out to not be true. But you know, another thing that is really important about this is that there's an allegation from Milo that Nick Fuentes was aware of the way that Ali Alexander was, but turned the other way for political expediency. That's the allegation. So, yeah.
Well, and so a little bit of background. Ali is a relatively lesser known figure, but I believe Ali is significantly more connected than both Milo and Nick. If you know a little bit about Ali's history, even in recent history back to 2020, Ali Alexander is the one that spoke to Gozar, Briggs, and whoever, setting up and orchestrating inside of Congress, like the rejecting of the election. He was also working with Tario and Stewart, helping coordinate the militia. He was also working with Fuentes, Alex Jones. He's Roger Stone's like second in command, because Roger Stone actually started Stop the Steal back in 2016, and he kind of handed the project off to Ali. But even like, it gets even deeper. Like, Ali Alexander had a fake permit for January 6th under a fake company called One Nation Under God. It was a 50-person or less permit on the Capitol lawn, where there were actually questions about it, but they gave him the permit anyway. They knew it was Stop the Steal, so they apply under a fake name. They know it's Stop the Steal. They grant the permit anyway, and then Pittman lied about it in front of Congress. This guy is deep into what goes on, and he's been into a lawsuit very similar to this with Gabe Hoffman about defamation, and Gabe Hoffman made a movie called An Open Secret, which is about pedophiles in Hollywood. And Ali accused him, I think, of like trying to cover up pedophilia. So like, this is a subject that's been going around these people for so fucking long.
Well, the thing is like, okay, I want to just believe everything you're saying, like, but it's like so much of these people in this sphere are constantly blackmailing each other and smearing each other, and so
yes,
like,
exactly.
having the pedophile.
I'm not
thing,
saying it's fake. I'm not saying
so
it's fake. I'm saying
fair.
it's real.
Yeah,
but there's more to it being real.
But
so
like,
what I would say to that, Smith, is it's very fair what you're saying, and that's something that I've been saying a lot the past few days too, is that one thing you can definitely rely on within the far right online spaces is that they make up so many rumors about each other. It is very hard to know what's true. It's very hard to know what's right, and very hard to know what's true. And that's why you know, when a rumor like this about Ali Alexander floats around, it's hard to say because there are fake rumors about people being pedos and fake rumors about people being like rapists floating around as well. So it's very, very hard to distinguish what is true and what isn't true. The reason why this became kind of like a big deal is because of the screenshots and the audio recordings and the testimonies of people who've come forward. Otherwise, it's for the most part it's so hard. It's so hard, and I don't blame anybody for being skeptical of any rumor that goes around.
What I was trying to say was like I think that a lot of those things are probably are true, but for I vaguely remember from like Lauren Southern's like video talking about like these types of relationships they had. They would like get blackmail, or they do things where now they're complicit, so that they'd have blackmail material on each other on purpose, and so having someone come forward and hearing the story from one person, like I feel like I can't trust any of them to actually know the full picture, even if the details they have and like the dirt and the evidence they have is genuine. Like I feel like I'm only seeing a specific segment of it as a hit piece.
Sure, and that's a valid thing to say, and and again, we're going to have to just see as this develops to see what happens, right? That's all I can really do is I can report on it. I can tell what what these interactions are back and forth between people in these spheres and give my insight on what I think about it. But other than that, we kind of just have to wait and see what happens. So.
I mean, I think it's always important to remember, at least to me, it's important that like we're not talking even about Lauren Southern. We're not talking about even Destiny. We're talking about two people that have been called by Congress and subpoenaed, people that have been called in by the Justice Department to talk. Like, these aren't online figures. These are people that are fucking involved in the investigation of a coup. That people have been like, the people they work with specifically were found guilty of seditious conspiracy. Like, these are people that are at the top of the food chain of some of the most disgusting shit that's going on in this country. They're not just online personalities, and I think sometimes we lose sight of that.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I say don't be surprised if you see clips from your interview on national news, because there's no other PR out there to grab from.
Yeah.
To kind of tether just a bit.
Sorry.
I think that no, it's
No,
fine.
this was awesome.
Oh, this is valuable, but I do want to try and tether. This kind of grounds the thing that I was saying before about how this language of Gigachad and Soy is like only useful and only meaningful inside of a very narrow context. And we are starting to get towards inside of this itself. There is something to be said about, can we expose people inside of this insular community towards other communities where the rules are so incredibly different, and not be concerned that people are going to believe that these people are operating on the same principles, same rules, same shit? Because yeah, when Chud says something, when I say something, whenever anybody on Twitch is edgy, these are people being edgy. It's all play, it's all fun, it's all games. I do think that there is something to be said about like, wait a second, what happens when, and even on the other side, I would be like, how should we even feel about someone like AOC if she decided to become like a regular streamer? I would feel weird about this in general, because these are not people that are playing by the same content creator. It's all pantomime, it's all fake. No, these are people with lots of power. And it also seems like it is probably a little bit beneficial for them to attach themselves to a community of extremely devoted, like hyper autistic people that will like do the type of things that like Andrew Tate's followers and Jordan Peterson's followers have been able to do.
Well, that's their sales funnel. That's what they do.
Yeah, but it's about creating like the free labor of, because there's a lot of people online that have a lot of creative energy and a lot of passion, and they want to put it into something, and they're trying to find those people. And I think that that's one thing that you can be suspicious about.
Milo has been doing this since 2012, 2013 with Bannon back in Gamergate. He's been cultivating these things and running this playbook and dealing with these situations for a decade now. Like, he's been around. These people are so, I believe the things we do add up to a sum total of the population of activities, but we're not all equal. Their activities have a bigger multiplier than my activities.
Yeah, for sure. So when we talk about them. We can't. It's like the rich people thing that I said before. I don't feel comfortable calling someone like J.K. Rowling Gigachad or Soy because I'm like, she's got money, buddy. She's got influence, buddy.
Okay, wait.
Yeah.
Let's ask Star real quick. We had a list of people: J.K. Rowling, Gigachad, or Soy.
On her trans takes.
Obviously, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say Soy because she engages way too much with people. You know, I'm gonna say Soy. Like, it would be one thing if she was just like, I don't give a fuck, whatever. But the thing is, she does give a fuck, and she just responds to too many people on Twitter. You know, it is like the definition of Soy. So, yeah.
Who else? I'm trying to go backwards. Who else did we have?
Well, I had one. Was Jesus Christ sacrificing himself for our sins Soy, or was it Gigachad?
Well, here's the thing. He cared, but but he cared about the right thing, right? He didn't care about going through pain and didn't care about like being crucified, which, you know, any normal person would, but he cared about you know, the people around him. So I think he was Gigachad, probably. That's like, you know, if we're going by that, like, you know, what he was supposed to be.
He didn't pose himself as a victim, but instead as a martyr, which is considered Gigachad.
Yeah.
I think then the next one was Destiny and Melina.
Yeah, you could use that. I know that you're uncomfortable with that one. Just any man who is okay with his woman matching his polyamory.
You know, it's interesting because you know, there used to be the stereotype of like this older guy with a smoking fox wife who doesn't give a fuck what his wife does, and she has a pool boy and all that, and he's a Gigachad, and he doesn't give a fuck because he knows that he's like the king. And that used to be Gigachad. So I don't know what happened to that. I don't know what happened, but now it's like Soy. So yeah.
Okay, I'm pretty sure I know your answer on this one. Max putting out the novel.
A series of unfortunate events.
Yeah, I think it's you know, it had the potential to maybe be interesting, but I think somebody put it really well and said, you know, Max's strength is his video making skills, right? That is his strength. Like, undisputably, we all know that he is such a talented video maker. So for him to choose the format of an article and then not really take criticism on the article itself, not really take suggestions on the article, because from what I've heard from people who did give him, you know, who proofread his stuff, I heard from people that they gave him suggestions like to specifically do certain things and that he didn't implement them. I forgot what they were, but yeah, yeah. So
one of the biggest one was use hyperlinks instead of quotations to make it more approachable. And
yes, I think that was one of them. Yeah,
that was one of the hugest ones.
Yeah.
Okay, the last one was Chud Logic openly states that he's here for entertainment and Gigachatting mostly as a character. Like, he's not racist, but it's funny to Gigachat as racist. Is that Gigachad or Soy?
I think it's Gigachad because he's very aware of. I think he is successfully, or maybe he hasn't. I think he's kind of starting to come to the point where he understands that Chud Logic is a brand and it's not him as a person. So and I think it takes a long time for content creators to reach that point. So
awesome. That's all I got. Anybody?
Yeah, I got a couple other things. So when a person is trying to Gigachad, it feels like what they're doing is they're appealing towards the superiority of not caring. When they're being Soy, they're appealing towards the superiority, or I'm calling it Gigasoy, is appealing to the superiority of caring. Do you think that do you think that most of the time there is a proper amount of care or not a proper amount of care? Or is it totally opinion? That was it's an extension of Will's question before. To extend that. How much is Soy and Gigachad even a meaningful distinction other than saying I belong to the community where people believe that this action is chadly, so on and so forth.
I think as much as people, like, let's say the Gigachad thing is really in with the community, as much as people claim that it's really in, you will still find people who will soy the fuck out in that community. So like you will find like somebody who is known for being a Gigachad, and you will find that their audience will often like soy out over the most minor things. So I don't know that it's anything beyond like an aesthetic, to be honest with you. But I think that there is something to be said about like you can only care so much about what people say about you online, you know? Yeah, it's going to get to you after a few months, but for the most part you kind of have to learn how to filter things and learn how to like kind of disregard people who don't really matter. And again, after months of build up, like for me, usually it's like after 6 months of build up, that's when I burn out a little bit, and then I have to take a little bit of a break. But yeah, for the most part, the idea of Gigachad is just an aesthetic, I think, really.
I have a question. So if a Gigachad falls in the woods, okay, basically same question. But if everybody is Gigachad and nobody is soy, is anybody Gigachad? I don't mean that like as a stupid question. I think it because I feel like you have to be Gigachad, you have to be responding to people who are soy, and to be soy, you have to be soy in the face of people that are Gigachad.
I don't think have to, but I think that scenario presents itself often.
Well, that's the question. That's the question. Which one of those is true?
I don't know. I don't know. I think Gigachad can exist without soy. I think we would just have Gigachad and not Gigachad then, right? Like that aesthetic wouldn't be applied to other people. It would just be applied to certain people.
I think that while Gigachad is usually like not caring about something that other people care a lot about and not caring that they care and want you to care, we can also like think about a theoretical situation where everybody doesn't give a shit about anything at all. And I don't think it would be the exact same thing as what we mean when we mean Gigachad. But there would need to be one person freaking out.
Are you talking about like you're in a weird position? Like there's a movie and like the bad guy's giving a speech, but it's like a good speech and he's making like a valid point. And then somebody it's in a crowd and like everybody's looking around like, what the fuck do I do? And the guy that has the courage to stand up and start clapping, that's the Gigachad.
That's a separate thing. I don't know how that you got that from what I was saying, but that's a separate. What I'm saying is actually something more like DGG and Anna, or something like somebody needs to be the fall guy or the fall girl. Somebody needs to be the person that, wow, you're the only person that cares this much, or there's an ocean of soy with one Gigachad. That's what you're talking about. I think the inversion of my principle, an ocean of soy. But there needs to be one person to be. I think I agree. I'm agreeing with Smeth here. There's this. What is it? The Ursula Le Guin, Omelas, the city where there's one child who's tortured so that the world can be good. The same thing exists. There needs to be one person who is made fun of in order for us to all be Gigachad. There needs to be one person who's freaking out. I think it's kind of why we like the drama content of someone being soy and like watching it and laughing. It's because we all get to be we get to be Gigachads in the chat while we're watching it, being like, wow, if I was there, I totally would not have freaked out.
Yeah, and look, and the thing is, people say that, but then we have to acknowledge, like with the Anna situation, most people who were in the chat who were like lolling about it, anybody who had to deal with the amount of that crowd, most people will break under that. Most people can't deal with it. So as much as people want to like lull about Anna, and yes, there have been times where like definitely 100% she's overreacting to something, but her reaction is still by far better than the average person just taken out of the chat and how they would be in that situation. Because a lot of people, how many people do we see that just completely leave, go offline, right? We don't even remember their names. So and I think people don't, you won't really know if you're ready for that until you go through it. But yeah, I mean, and the thing is with Anna, not only like not only was she going through it, she's different from even other content creators because she would keep stirring it back up, right? The average content creator at a certain point learns to like disengage and not engage with it anymore, and they realize, okay, the shit's gonna stop. They're gonna stop coming for me as long as I be quiet. I don't acknowledge it, right? Even with her, and it might just be because of her OCD. She kept stirring it back up. I don't think a normal person would even be able to deal with that. So, yeah. So there is that. To give her credit there.
She has that. I mean, you can there. I mean, compulsive is the right word for it. But
Yeah.
there was that one thing. I sometimes when I'm trying to like understand why she kept prodding the bear, it's the craziest small detail. But I remember, and it's because I relate to her in this thing.
Yeah.
I have like compulsions of my own. I remember when she used to talk about people having sex without a condom. It's one of those weird things where, as a person that has like a compulsive fear of that unprotected sex, I'm like, oh, I know what it is. She feels like she feels so viscerally that something is being done wrong in like Destiny is using his platform in a way, or that she doesn't think is it. She feels that on such a visceral level that she can't help. To a certain extent, she's like tempted by that desire on such a deep level to like have to speak up against it. If I don't do something, then I'm doing something wrong. I would be accomplice to it too. And that's not a type of personality that people can relate to empathetically. We want to ignore that part of ourselves. We want to pretend that part of ourselves doesn't exist.
Yeah. And I think a large part of it also is that she does have OCD, and the average person doesn't understand OCD. And the average person, she herself thought that my OCD is mild, right? It's not that bad. It's not that bad. Well, now, like, I'm like, now when I see her, I'm like, nah, I don't think your OCD is that mild. But I have family members who have OCD, and it's ruined their lives completely, right? Completely non-functional people in society. So people really don't seem to understand how much OCD can affect a person. And I think we as a group vastly underestimated how much OCD was kind of ruling her life as well. And I think even Destiny was able to acknowledge that. So, yeah.
Yeah, that seems fair. That was the last of the people. Did you have another one, Tuna?
If I had to think about one more like on the line Gigachad, no, I think the most important like ambiguities are covered there. Maybe the biggest question would be, Smeth, you had this whole idea of like trying to create a non-male Gigachad. What would it look like? Can you create one of those circumstances? Create that. That was the one that we kind of there was no one identity that we put it to though.
Well, like you're like I was saying, like a mean girl in a mean girl's world. Is that what you're talking about?
There were a couple of different examples. Yeah, how about that one? Do you think that when God, whatever the name of the blonde and Mean Girls or something, do you think that these like this idea of being just like, or I use the analogy of like the feminist who her like saying I don't care whether men live or die, and actually if I figure out if I get an ultrasound and it's male, I'm going to get an abortion. Do you think that these people are attempting to embody the same like Gigachad energy? Do you think that it will ever be successful? Or is that something else? What do you even call that?
I think that's becoming more and more successful.
Well, I'm going to be real with you guys. I think that there's a different standard for women in media, and that even goes with online people. So I think that you'll see women who do embody what Gigachad means, but everybody will go after them. So, and everybody will find a reason to soy out over the things that they want to soy out over, and then make fun of them for being soy over other things, right? I hate to use this as an example, but I think Lav is a decent example of this, right? Like, she says incredibly bigoted things, right? And sometimes dudes can like say bigoted things and kind of get away with it and just kind of giga chat over it. She can't do that, right? But at the same time, if she complains about misogyny, which she probably does face a decent amount of misogyny, even if I think that some of her, a lot of her the criticisms people have of her are valid, she does probably face a decent amount of misogyny that is real, but people are like, oh, you're soying out, right? So I think unfortunately right now the standards for women in media are still so different from men. I don't know if there's like if the possibility of being a gigachad is something that is easily achievable for most women. I think Smeth was on point with like maybe a Mean Girls version of a woman.
Wait,
Mean
I want to say
Girls,
something
like, persona. So yeah.
Okay, wait. I think that I think it's all in the perception of other people. So I like, regardless of if you embody the Gigachad thing, and regardless of, because the thing that Lav does is truly like extreme example of giga chatting, because she does receive a lot of misogyny, but I think that she like her giga chatting, her saying kill all men, saying like saying like sterilize men, make all men take estrogen, and also like the fact that she got to where she is, and she's like got she's like got connections, and like she's got a rich husband or all that. She got that through like sex work, and like through like all these like kind of like anti like these things that I think that men are jealous of her, is what I'm saying. And I think that her like going like misandrist and stuff in the face of like all the jealousy that men have for her, she makes people really misogynistic. So her giga chatting is like a misogynist factory, and she's making men soy out. So she's like truly like hyper giga chat, like factory, like giga chat.
You think people are soying out at her giga chatting,
yes,
or soying out at catching her lying and just lying through it?
Both.
I think it's a combination, honestly. Now, I will say, I think Smeth was on point with one thing, that the Mean Girls persona, right? I think that is the one female persona that I could see getting away and being called gigachad, but I think most females online or in media, it's going to be very hard to achieve the gigachad persona. So
I've got one. Casey Anthony.
Who's that?
Gigachad?
Oh, fuck.
Hold on.
No, everybody thinks she's just like everybody has that one psycho girlfriend, and they attribute that one psycho girl, like I don't know what it is, but dudes online have that. They all have the experience of at least one psycho girlfriend, and they take that psycho girlfriend and they'll ascribe to certain people. So they did it with Casey Anthony. For some reason, they did it with they did it with Amber Heard. They are, some people are probably doing it with Lav right now, right? But there is the psycho girlfriend thing persona. So,
I have it on priority that only one person is doing it with Lav right now. Sorry. There was something about the Lav thing, which is that when the way that people talk with Lav and the way they talk about Lav in the moments, the 1 HP voice meme, which is not just her, but there is something where it's like, yeah, bitch, we made soy out of the alpha. We dominated you through the conversation. We exhausted you to the point where now you're being vulnerable. Because that's the thing. Yeah, she'll play the comedic and she'll play the bombastic, and then people are like, well, Lav, you're a liar, and you did this and you did this and this. And then when she becomes vulnerable, that's when you've succeeded. And you see it in the chat. People are like, we're done. Pack it in, boys. We got it. And that's kind of what the Giga Chad Soy dynamic is about. Like I said, it's kind of, if anybody in the audience or anybody in this room, 2 gay tops trying to decide which one is going to be dominated, which one's going to get fucked in the ass tonight. There's a dynamic of like, no, I'm fucking doing it. No, I'm doing it. No, it's a holding pattern. And the first one to become the boss heard it. I've done it.
I've done it. I've done it. Yeah.
I got lost.
It's a male on male dynamic. You wouldn't get
Well,
it.
I have that with
I-
females.
I don't get it. If it deals with males, I don't get it.
I have that with females, like where you just have like two people that are like switches, and you're sort of come at it like combative, like who's gonna be? Oh, there he goes again. Who's gonna be like you're trying to like one up each other. You're trying to make the other submit, and that's kind of a dance. Anyway,
Yeah.
That should probably wrap it up. I think we've exhausted the
yeah.
Yeah.
Ourselves.
Chad. It will become soy very quickly.
Yeah.
Star, anything you want to pop off about?
No. Thanks for letting me crash your panel. It was fun. So.
Wait, I got
was,
one more question
feeling-
for
Yeah.
Star. Since you just joined, it's like, do you value being Gigachad over being soy, or what? What do you
I don't think-
do you think
See, I
there's
don't
a
think it
virtue?
really matters.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so I don't think it really matters because, again, as I said, like Gigachad and Soy are aesthetics, right? That people assign to streamers or assign to personalities. I don't think that's something that will ever benefit me. I don't think being seen as a Gigachad will ever benefit me. And the few times that people have called me a Gigachad, it doesn't really do anything for me. So I kind of just, I do think that there's a value, like as a person, learning to sift through what matters and what doesn't matter. There's definitely value there. But as far as caring about whether you're seen as a Gigachad or a Soy, it doesn't matter, because if people hate you, they're going to see you in a negative way regardless.
I agree. The way you framed it is kind of what I was saying all along. It's kind of how people frame you. It's not really true in itself. It's how people frame you.
Yeah.
And then I think whatever you do from there is what should be judged as soy and Gigachad. Like people are gonna judge you, but then the other people are gonna judge you for how you react to that.
Yeah.
All right.
True. Well, thanks for having me, guys. Have a great night. Thanks for letting me crash the panel and stuff. It was fun. So I appreciate it.
Yep. You guys take it easy.
See you guys.
Bye.
Bye. All right. It's just you and me. And I gotta fucking go to bed. Or I'm not gonna go to bed. I'm not even gonna go to bed. I'm just gonna stop talking to you. I'm gonna tell you I'm gonna go to bed, but then I'm gonna leave the call and I'm gonna play video games for 5 hours, and I'm just gonna ignore you. I'm gonna turn the stream off, and you're not even gonna be here. I'm gonna have my fun with myself. Maybe I'll even jerk off. Maybe I'll even watch Better Call Saul. And I'm not even going to tell you any about it. I'm just going to tell you that I'm going to bed. And you're just going to assume that I'm not paying any attention to you because I'm sleepy. But the real reason that I'm not paying attention to you is because I don't want to, and I want to leave. I'm going to work on my video that I'm making about the Destiny report. And it has to fucking get done. And I'm sick of making it. And I haven't even fucking, oh my god, it's gonna be so much work. What video games am I gonna play? If I play a video game, it's going to be, I get sucked into video games autistically, where I'll kind of like master a game and then just keep playing it for a while, like a roguelike or like a strategy game. And lately I've been playing Songs of Conquest, which is a modern take on a game. It's a take on basically Heroes of Might and Magic 3, which I don't know if you have any idea what that is, but it's top-down strategic army building, resource managing game with like combat. Like, so the combat is like combat mechanics are hex based, and there's different types of units. Yeah, it's very I've already like I've gotten good enough at it, especially against the AI. I'm not really interested in playing against people, but I need to find a new game. I might go back to I've been thinking about, Deep Rock Galactic a lot. Yeah, I've got, it's not going to be a 12-hour video, but it's going to be pretty long. There's got so much editing to do, so much editing to do. Okay. See you. I don't have another stream scheduled, but I'm going to be working on my video, and I'm sure that you're going to hear about another stream coming up. Just follow me, RealSmeth, on Twitter, or join my Discord, and you'll hear about it. All right. See you next time. And I'm just going to stare at the camera, and then I'm going to press end stream, because after the stream's gone on for 3 hours, I don't know how long of a lag I have between you seeing me and me saying shit. So I'm just going to stare at the camera for 5-10 seconds, and then I'm going to press stop stream.